Underdog Fantasy is the fastest-growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.
The Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
It's hard to be humble when you're from Arkansas, which was funny on many levels, because why would you be proud of being from Arkansas? That's number one. Arkansas is a terrible place.
And Rich Frage.
Like, this all started because someone liked a tweet and got annoyed about
everybody
it.
Everybody log off. Throw your phones in the body of water closest to you. Stop. This is all terrible. I hate it all.
Yeah, it's all so dumb.
And we are live here on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. We forgot to do the bit where you start off the show and act like I'm not here again. We blew it. We can't go back. So, hi. How are you? That's only good if I'm gone for like 2 weeks. If I'm gone for 1 week, that's not enough. You know what I mean? That it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, who has time for bits?
Rich is on assignments. Yeah, no bits on this show. It's all just hard-hitting news. Getting to work, you know.
Did my solo show get you any angry DMs this time? Or
this podcast is a member of the Voice.
Plays the intro again. No, that's why. Yeah, no, it didn't.
Have I lost my edge? What's going on?
I think you have. Yeah, I'm looking now just to double check, to make sure. No.
Wow. Yeah. Normally I do a solo show.
Oh, you suck. You suck now.
Piss everybody off, and then Rich has to deal with it.
Right. I mean, I'm 2,000 miles away, and they're like, "Hey, just so you know," I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't listen. I don't care."
Tell this Lanza motherfucker that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Just thought you'd like to know.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. That's usually how they start. Like.
Oh, like because they think I could still see.
Yeah.
It, right.
Right.
So
right. Right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. Well, you know, I guess I don't know. I guess I've lost my punch.
Yeah,
I can't even remember what I talked about. Honestly,
Cody.
The Cody. I mean,
honestly, I will tell you truthfully.
Very surprising.
I was very surprised.
Yeah.
We did not get a particular direct message on that day.
Right.
When that show came out. Just by the description, I went, "Oh God, here we go." You know what I mean? And then I listened, and I was like, "Oh yeah, here we go." This is coming any minute now. But
Cody's Rich is like, "I'm really never getting those cigars, am I?"
Lore, that's lore. Is that public lore? I don't know if that's public lore.
It is now. I don't know. Yeah. Just let it sit there. Let it just. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I tried my best to get yelled at, but
no,
I guess not. So I don't know. Oh, you were trying to watch that before we went on the air here. Rich was feverishly trying to turn on this Angels Rangers game, and
still am, by the way. Still am. That has not stopped. Yeah,
couldn't get it to work, and he missed a Mike Trout home run because you know how Rich runs. He missed 19 flights on the way home, by the way, from Alaska. Rich, it wasn't just a Mike Trout home run. It was a 472-foot Mike Trout home run.
Damn it.
The longest home run since 2019.
Of course.
So,
yeah, Otani's pitching. Mike Trout, the best player in baseball, is just doing amazing stuff. It's great. Yeah, it's awesome.
You really do run poorly.
I'm going to turn it on. It's just going to be Justin Upton striking out and stuff. Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, he got DFA'd, so I don't know if you have to worry about that.
Oh, he's done?
But,
I didn't know that. Oh.
He's... Yeah.
That's probably for the better. Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah. Remember when the Braves signed both Uptons and
Boss Man Jr.
Jason
Upton
Hayward?
and Justin Upton? Yeah.
And they thought they were going to have 3 like 30 guys in the outfield, and then they won like 70 games and broke the team up.
Who was the other one?
Later.
Yeah, who was the other guy? Was that still Frank Gore? Hayward. Right. Yeah. And then they broke the all-time strikeout record by a lot, I think.
Right at the cusp of his decline, Jason Hayward. And he's still on the Cubs, correct?
He is still on the Cubs, yeah. I don't know if
he's like the fifth outfielder or something.
Yeah, I don't know if they're even playing him that much, but he is certainly getting paid. They're not playing him, but they're paying him, that's for sure. So
they got Suzuki who was tearing the cover off.
I know. I was really upset he went to the Cubs. Yeah, we haven't talked baseball yet because I was gone when the opening day happened. So,
fun
season so far. I'm liking it. My 4-2 White Sox, enjoying that.
I said this on one of the audios I did when you were gone, but I got to be honest. The lockout was a nice break because they backed the season up a week. They kept the 162 game schedule, but by backing the season up a week, they moved it off of WrestleMania weekend. So that was very good. If you're a wrestling fan and a baseball fan,
oh, forget it.
It was perfect because then you could just watch the wrestling all weekend because baseball started 7 days late. So the lockout actually worked out pretty good from that standpoint.
It's created some pretty decent weather as well. Like, I mean, I know today wasn't great in Chicago for the game, and they had a big rain, issue the other day, but we haven't seen as many snow games. A lot of the stuff has been pretty decent weather for the most part, so that's good. It helped. I mean, opening day for the White Sox was like sunny, and it's always just absolutely brutal. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, maybe I could get used to this. I don't mind it extending a little bit into April. I think that's not the worst thing in the world.
Now, then they got a week's worth of games that everybody has to make up. So everyone's going to be playing a shit ton of double headers later in the year.
Love it.
Yeah, so
I go out of my way to go to double headers. Like, you know if they're doing straight double headers or because day night double headers, forget it. Who cares? Day night double headers are stupid.
Rich, I'm guessing that the baseball owners are doing day night.
Oh, of course, yeah. They like once or twice a year, the White Sox will do a straight doubleheader, and I think I've been to every single one because it's like, me, cheap ass Rich. I'm like 2 games for one. Hell yeah, like let's go. And I get to the first game like stupid early as well. I want to maximize the baseball that I see or whatever. So I leave work early, take a half day or whatever. I'm there by the second inning, and I'm there until 10 o'clock. It's a lot of baseball, but hey, you know what? It's a straight doubleheader. You don't get those very often anymore, so you got to take advantage.
I could see you hiding under the seats with the split doubleheader.
No, they really the split doubleheaders by in for Chicago. I don't know if that's the case with every other split. Is so egregiously far. Like I don't think you could. It's not a bad idea to hide under the seats though.
You're in a bathroom stall with your feet up on the toilet.
Right. I only have to wait 3 more hours.
Yeah,
waltz back in there. I just have to wait for the first person to go in and flush the toilet and be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, how you doing, pal? How are you?"
Yes, and then you emerge from the toilet.
I haven't thought of that.
I was in a restaurant 2 weeks ago, and I was in there. This actually isn't amusing or fun. This is actually a terrible story. So I take the boy into the bathroom, right, and he's not tall enough to use a urinal yet, so he's got to go like in the stall and pee in the toilet. So I'm in there helping him. And about 5 or 6 rambunctious,
rapscallions.
Go piling in to the same stall, like right next to me. And they're acting rowdy, and I can clearly hear them doing lines.
Wow, nice. Still doing. I'm glad Coke's still around. I don't hang out in the places where I think Coke is still around, but I'm glad to know Coke's still around. So
you wouldn't think that this was the kind of establishment where people.
Yeah, who's got Coke money these days? Are you kidding me?
Just a family restaurant.
That's Coke money. On a boat. If I'm on Miami Beach in a boat or whatever, those people got Coke money. I got suburban Texas at a restaurant.
I got a 5-year-old eating chicken tenders 1 minute, and then the next minute I got, a bunch of kids, snorting fucking Coke lines. Money. I don't know. It might not have been Coke. Let's be fair. Could have been Crank. Could have been who knows what it was. But
various other. I would like Joe Reed's 1980s words for drugs. Runs that what Nancy Reagan would call drugs.
Doing a little angel dust in the stall next to me.
A little Special K, a little Jay Lethal throwback. Yeah.
So
I know he wasn't Special K, you dumbasses. I know he was Hydra. Don't tell me. I know.
You're gonna. Well, see, that was fast, so you're not gonna get tweets. Well, no one tweets us anymore anyway. But
it's great. It's great. It's so good. I love
what a
it.
life. So So they're cursing and they're like, give me a bump, thing, and they're fucking making noise. And the one looks over the stall and sees me in there with the small child. And he's like, oh, my bad. And then he tells the others, oh, chill out. There's a guy in there with his kid. So at least they were polite drug users in the stall next to me. Once they realized I was there with a little kid, because then the kid starts asking questions. What's going on in there? Why are they all in the same toilet, Daddy? I'm like, I can't answer this. I'm like, it must be, there must be only one available. I don't know what to say. There's 5 or 6
you're gonna no matter what have to have like a long conversation that's not gonna be like easy to do with a kid that's probably not gonna understand it. Either way, no matter what reason is, because there's you know what I mean? Like there's something happening where all those people are in there and you have to now explain one way or another what's going on. And neither one is one that you want to have with like a 6-year-old or whatever.
No, 5. And I gotta be honest, I'm glad they were doing drugs and weren't fucking.
Right, because then that's, you know what I mean? Like, they're both tough, but I think the drugs thing, you could just be like, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he would have noticed the other. I mean, the other one, it wouldn't have bothered him either, I don't think, right?
They just sounded loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
And they were good, but if, I'm glad they weren't, I didn't.
An orgy going on
didn't walk
in the stall next to you, yeah.
Jeez, but how'd that even come up? What made me bring? Oh,
I have no idea.
The stall from the baseball.
Yeah.
Doubleheader. Yeah. So,
man, can't believe. How young are these kids? They got Coke money, man. Jeez.
They were probably late teens, early 20s by the looks of them, by the way they were dressed. Listen, again.
I don't have Coke money, man. I work my ass off. What the hell?
I don't know the current Coke market. I couldn't tell you.
I think it's still pretty expensive, right?
Maybe
it's not. Maybe I don't know the Coke market anymore.
But how would you be privy to the Coke market?
Never. I was never really privy to it, to be honest. So.
You're a devil's lettuce guy. You're not a Coke guy.
Of course.
So, you're a ganja guy. You're not a devil's lettuce guy. So, you are a devil's
reefer.
You're not a
the
Coke
reefer,
guy.
Yeah. Dope.
Could have been crank.
Dope.
Could have been speed. Could have been some grinded up heroin. I don't know what they were doing.
That's true. Yeah.
I have no clue what drug it was.
Oh, like Adderall and say, there's a bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah, could have been anything. Could have been the clear. You do the clear, Rick.
The clear, the Gary Sheffield.
Could have been a little, a little fucking, Breaking Bad, some meth. Maybe they were snorting some meth. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a drug guy, Rich. Not a drug guy. But something was, being snorted in that stall.
Tell me this was a chained establishment. Tell me this was.
It was a chain.
Tell me this is Applebee's or whatever.
You're not far off. We were with the kids. We just took the kids out at like 6:30 at night on a Saturday for like,
what are you doing?
You know what I mean? Like, exactly. What were they doing? Like, what is happening right now? I couldn't believe it. I told TLB, she thought I was ripping her. I'm like, no, I'm serious.
Here, tell her, boy. Yeah, tell her.
I'm like, that table right there, those kids, those guys right there. It was them. I'm like, she's like, she thought I was kidding, because I'm always goofing around, but no, yeah, I don't know. It was shocking to me too.
Wild. Well, good for them, I guess.
This wasn't like me and her out in the club at 1 a.m.
That's what I mean, like some bar or something like that, or it's like TGI Fridays. They're getting through with their, Well, who's got the Irresistibles? That's Applebee's, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's like these. Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a local Applebee's thing or whatever. I'm trying to think of what I would. I'm trying to think of what you would if you went to the TGI Fridays. What would be like the generic like thing? It's not like Outback. You would obviously say Bloomin' Onion.
Well, TGI Fridays was always known for their potato skins.
Potato skins. There you go. Yeah, so they're ripping up some TGI Fridays potato skins and then snorting Adderall or whatever the fuck in the bed. It's crazy. Yeah, hey, good for them, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably what it was, right? I'm in a college town, so it's probably. Why am I even speculating? I know nothing about drugs.
Nothing. Let's continually wildly speculating what these people are.
What drugs these guys were doing?
These hooligans. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lecture them about the dangers of drugs.
I just wanted to get. I wanted to get out of that bathroom, to be honest. I wanted to get out of there with the innocence of this 5-year-old intact. Is really all I wanted to do. But then he wants to stop and wash his hands. I'm like, I'm glad I've taught you well, but I'd really like to just get out of this bathroom.
Right. We didn't do that much. It's cool. You know what I mean? Maybe a squirt of hand sanitizer as we're walking back will probably be enough for
Right.
For us, yeah. Well, there you go. Wild. So suburban Texas chained restaurants get kind of wild these days at 6:30. So I just watched a replay of that Mike Trout homer. That's a dinger. That is a dinger. Well,
it's one of those ones the camera loses.
Yeah, it's so high and it's in this weird, shitty stadium in Texas. This fucking abortion of a stadium.
Yeah, I haven't been there, but I don't like it on TV.
I hate it on TV. It looks weird. The lighting looks weird. The field looks weird.
It looks like a mall park.
Yeah, the background is just like a bunch of like rows of people, but in a weird way. It doesn't quite work. Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah, the lighting is weird. It's not
aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, and on the outside it looks horrible too. It looks so much worse on the outside.
Like a tin can.
Yeah.
Like it's a
fucking stinks.
Like a can of tuna. Little burp for you. Flagship is back, baby.
Yeah, this show sucks. This is so bad.
Yeah.
Was it better last week or no? Was it still bad?
I thought it was championship audio.
I thought it was very good as well. I liked that show last week. So.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I
listened on the way to Fairbanks, Alaska. Right in the car ride. So
Fairbanks. How long of a drive is that from Anchorage?
That is about 6 hours from Anchorage. So.
Is Anchorage all prostitutes and oil men?
There were some prostitutes for sure. Definitely, there's definitely women of the nights frolicking around, but no, I didn't see any oil men there.
Okay.
Definitely prostitutes though. Definitely a few prostitutes. Yeah.
Is it daylight 24 hours?
Not quite yet. It was the sun was out until about 10:15 the night we left. I think they're gonna start getting their midnight sun by sometime in the next 2 weeks. And then it's full on 24-hour sun in June, like June through mid-July. So that I can tell you, having just experienced it, because I'm thinking like, oh, that would be kind of cool to have the sun up, all the time. 2 days of like the sun going down at like 10:30 was more than enough for me to be like, nah, this is bad. Yeah, it really fucked you up. It was hard. We're like sitting at a bar, we're drinking, and I'm like, God damn, it's like 10:30, and we're just like the bar's full. Everyone's going. Everyone's still energized. You have no desire to go to sleep at all. Like you have no desire to wind down or chill out or whatever. You're just ready to go. You're thinking, shit, we can go for a walk. We can do this. We can do that, and that would get exhausting pretty quickly, I think. So, but it's made up by having darkness for like 3 months straight. So.
I think I'd prefer.
I was gonna say Joe Lanza. I think it wouldn't matter because you'd have the shades. Are you so? I know in your den, is there any windows in the den? Is the den a completely windowless place or no?
No, it's got windows. I got
that you open.
For when I'm in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you immediately go blackout curtains, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, TLB wakes up in the morning and opens every fucking.
That's me. Yeah, I do the same
shades
thing.
in the house.
Yeah.
Like. Then she goes to work and I close all of the shades.
That's what exactly
everywhere in the house.
I come home. This place is an abyss of like a funeral home. But
yeah,
I leave and it's like a botanical garden. There's just light from everywhere. Everything's glowing. The dogs are sunbathing, and then I leave and I come back and it's a fucking funeral home in this place. It's cold. It's dark.
Can't stand the natural light. I cannot stand it. It's looks horrible on your skin. It exemplifies any dust that you have in the house if you got the natural light coming in.
That is true. That is true.
It makes your house feel dirty even when it's clean, and I really can't stand that. I just hate the fucking sun. The sun is my enemy.
Yeah, you went outside last week, right? And did not go well.
I got dragged to some festival or something in Podunk, Texas or some shit, and we had to be outside. And
kind of festival.
You're asking me questions I don't have the answers to. It was some bullshit.
You were there.
A couple times a year, you just got to do the fucking.
She puts the boots on. She puts the boots. Is it like she wears boots and flannel type of hangout, or what are we talking?
No. It was like a street fair kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Not like a hootenanny. It's not like you guys are sitting on barrels or whatever.
No. It's like vendors and.
Oh, okay. Sounds great.
Food.
Sounds fun. Yeah, sounds awesome.
Stuff for the kids to do.
Oh, sounds great.
Guy on a guitar fucking singing terribly, like just shit like that. And it's outside in fucking middle of Texas. And we're probably only there 90 minutes, but I got sunburned on the side of only one side of my face. Because we all, I burn instantly no matter, if I go outside. So I got sunburn on one side of my fucking face. I got sunburn on top of my head because I just got a fresh haircut. So the very top of my head got sunburned. I had a migraine for a day and a half. The fucking sun sucks. I don't know what you people see in the sun. It destroys me. I couldn't even imagine. Like if it's like that was only 90 minutes worth of sun, and it ruined my life for a day and a half. I still have like remnants of this sunburn. Like I go to scratch the top of my head, and it's like it hurts because I got sunburn on the top of my head. I don't know how you people do the sun. It's just the dirt worst. I want nothing to do with it. I'd be content never going out in the sun again.
I was
going to
say, so maybe you should consider Alaska in the winter months. So,
but that'd be weird too. Just I like knowing that it's daylight.
Yeah,
outside.
just in case. Like you don't want to see it or interact with it or have it be a part of your life, but you just like knowing it's there.
Yeah. Like it's it's. I think if it
makes her happy at least. So,
who, my wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they fucking. I don't know. She saw I was miserable, but I was, I wasn't complaining or anything. And then she finally said, "Did you
consider like a hat or something, or any sort of sun protection?" Or no?
You know me, I don't do gimmicks. So she
hat.
So, I don't do that. Like sunglasses, never. So she
those things all kind of help with the sun. You said I don't know how people do the sun. Well, sometimes we wear sunglasses and hats and whatnot.
How about just stay in the house? Like that's so finally she says to the kids, but really she's talking to me. You know that move? Like so she's like, all right, your father's not complaining, but I know he's miserable, so we should probably leave. Like that kind of move.
Yeah.
Where you're
guilt
talking
tripping
to
you
else.
via the children.
Yeah, like that kind of where you're really just talking to the other person, but you're doing it through talking to the, So and then we got out of there. But I didn't vocally complain or anything or call because normally I'll sulk and I'll just make it miserable. This way I won't get asked to do it ever again. You know what I mean? That's my move. That's my usual move. Just fucking ruin the day. And then next year when the festival comes
the
around,
Hootenanny's going on, she just doesn't even bother. Well, I'm not going to invite you because you had such a terrible time last year. So
right,
and you go, all right, kick your feet up and put on Angels Rangers. All right. Well, sorry.
That's the move, right? That's the move. But I didn't do that this time. It's like, tasks around the house you don't want to do. Just do them poorly, and then you won't be asked to do them anymore. But so it's the same kind of concept. But I just grinned and bared it. But she picked up the hint and we got at it. But it was too late. I had a migraine for a day and a half.
Yeah.
You think I'm kidding? The sun destroys me. It just doesn't agree with me. It wasn't even that hot out. Maybe 90, so it's like, it could have been worse. If it was a couple months later, it'd be 100. These psychos are all out there. It doesn't stop them in this state. I suspect it wasn't 90 where you were.
No, definitely not. It was nice weather, though. It was decent. It was the same as it was in Chicago, basically, which I guess isn't decent. But 40s, 50s. Can't complain. It's all right. A lot of snow still, but that's all right. I expected that.
Snow sucks too. Basically,
snow stinks.
Yeah.
My theory is I can't complain about both. I'm allowed to complain about one or the other, so I'd never complain in the summer. But I bitch up a storm all winter. I hate the winter. I hate the darkness. I hate the snow. I hate ice. All that stuff fucking stinks. Why? Yes, you're going to say the irony of me going to Alaska. That's really strange considering all it is ice, snow, and all that sort of stuff. I get it. The irony is not lost on me, but they also have mountains, and that's kind of cool. Here, I just have snow and ice and flat. You know what I mean? There's not, at least like, if I lived in an area that had mountains, I could say, oh, the mountains look nice. Or, oh, you know what I mean? Like, there's something to look at. Now, here I just have piles of, like, gray snow everywhere, which is not that fun.
Yeah. The worst is after it's been plowed and it's dirty snow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all I look at all year. It's just, a plowed over, it's completely filled with soot and dirt. It's just the worst. Yeah. It's
gross.
Your car's a mess.
Stinks.
Your car's got salt all over it and stuff. Everything's dirty. Worst.
Awful.
Everything's dead.
Can't see out your windshield. You put the frost gimmick on, and you do the wipe, and it's just so awful. Just terrible.
Probably don't miss that. Yeah.
No, just driving in New Jersey for like a week. last month or whatever.
Reminded you of all the
the cold and trying to get like the frost off the window and you can't see. And I'm like, I forgot about this. Like, I just in Texas, I just
you got to add. You got to add like 20 minutes to your day, no matter what. If you're leaving, coming, going, it's the worst. Yeah, take out the garbage. Forget it. I don't want to put pants on to take out the garbage. Just leave the garbage on the back porch. Just don't take out the garbage. Just leave it. We have this thing where our garbage cans freeze over, so I just can't even take out the garbage for like 3 weeks. We just got to let it pile up in our house or put it out in the garage or something like that so a raccoon doesn't eat it. It's terrible. It's ridiculous. Nobody should live this way.
Oh, man, nature's miserable. It really is.
I'm
a couch guy. I'm a couch guy.
You are indeed a couch and MLB TV guy, so.
I'm a couch guy. I can't. I am what I am.
You must have loved WrestleMania weekend then, man. That was a lot. That was a lot going on WrestleMania weekend. You did great coverage. The whole website did great coverage. VoiceOfWrestling.com did great coverage. You did great coverage on the Patreon as well. I was listening in as those things were going on, trying to follow along, watching some of the shows. I've caught up with a lot of the stuff that I feel like I need to watch or I had to watch, and yeah, it was, from what I saw, it was a good weekend. I mean, I'm not going to watch any of the junk, and I'm sure that probably helps it out a lot. But just watching, parts of WrestleMania, all of Ring of Honor, Bloodsport, WrestleCon, like just watching just the basic stuff has certainly helped things a little bit easier. So. Joe Lanza, you still with me? There you go. Oh, sorry. You sound like you're on mute. You sound like you're on mute for a sec. Sorry.
Please don't watch 8. Hear me? I don't know what's going on.
There we go. I got you now. Yeah.
Don't watch 18 shows like I did. There's
no that was. I'm glad you did, but yeah, that's it's absurd.
I'm leaving. I'm coming back because I think something's wrong.
Okay, we'll let Joe go away. We'll let him reconnect to the call. Yeah, we've had a little bit of issues connection-wise. There we go. Joe Lanza is back. Hello.
You're good. Is it a terrible delay? Okay.
No,
now
we're in the same universe again. That's good. All right. Hello.
Yeah. That awful delay thing going on. That's fucking shits. I'm going to assume that's not happening anymore.
No, you sound good. Sound clear.
All right.
I can hear you. You can hear me. So
let's start this fucking show. It's been almost 40 minutes of this nonsense. What do we got topic-wise here?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff here. We are going to talk about it's kind of a classic flagship here. There's not any big news, but we have a lot of little stuff to get to, so we're going to bounce all over the place. We got Singh. We got AEW trying to make India happen again. Satnam Singh debuts. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. Contract news, a lot of different contract news. Chris Dickinson, John Moxley, Juice Robinson. Borders opening up a little bit as well, so that could have some effect on what's going to happen for New Japan and for other companies as well. We'll touch on New Japan, Hyper Battle, Wrestling Dontaku, and the show that I'm going to attend this weekend, Windy City Riot, New Japan of America, but really a fully loaded show from New Japan there in Chicago. Shinjiro Otani, we'll talk about the injury that he suffered, the unfortunate injury he suffered, and where we're at with that right now. K-ness, he retired as well, so we're going to talk about that show, a little bit about what's going on there. AEW Dynamite appearing on other networks, New Japan World Wrestle Universe, and also Tony Khan versus the Bots, which I was not there for the peak of the Tony Khan versus Bots thing, so I want you to kind of clue me in on what the takes were at the time, because I only know the takes from like a couple days later, but I'm very curious on how Tony Khan versus the Bots went. I lost track of time. Was that on Friday? Was Tony Khan versus the Bots?
I don't remember what day Tony Khan versus the Bots was, but you can only imagine how that went. So,
yeah, it was.
I don't know if you need me to fill you in. I mean, you
kind of, yeah. So the problem with Alaska too is like, we're 3 hours behind. So like, I was getting stuff in like the middle of the night, and like nobody was around to kind of clue me in on exactly what was going on or what was happening. So let's start there, because I'm kind of curious. Yeah. I need to be caught up on Tony Khan versus the Bots and what was all going on, what happened, how this happened. Is this related to Skynet? Like, what's going on here with Tony Khan versus the Bots?
Well, how do you think it went when Tony Khan accused the AEW haters of being bots? I mean,
I'm imagining
Can only imagine how that
reasoned and well explained by all parties. Yeah, all parties eventually agreed to disagree, but for the most part, tried to meet in the middle as much as they possibly could.
Okay, so he claims he commissioned a study to look into.
Now, has anybody followed up on any of this or no?
No. He hasn't released the study yet. Now he's claiming it's an independent study, but if he's commissioning the study,
Mookie and him?
No, it's like he commissioned a study, but by definition, that wouldn't be independent because that would be. I'm not saying it doesn't make the study valid, but it's like that's weird terminology to use, isn't it? To say,
yeah, I commissioned an independent study. Yes,
right. If you're hiring someone to do a study, then it's not. I mean, this is semantics, but anyway, this is such a weird story to begin with. So anyway, he commissioned this study. He claims it shows that. Okay, so here's the thing. It's not that the troll accounts themselves are bots. This is not what he's saying. I'm not going to name. Everyone knows who the troll accounts are. I'm not going to spotlight them. I'm not going to.
No, they get enough spotlight every time you log in on Twitter, by the way. Which, for people that, just to kind of give you a clue, if you stop using Twitter, it works. It's great because you're not using Twitter anymore, so you're not wasting your time. But Twitter is the absolute dirt fucking worst app ever if you stop using it. Because if you don't tweet, it tries so hard to give you these types of accounts, these engagement bait, bullshit, like awful, just the dregs of society tweet. It's suggested for you is, this dumb tweet with this dumb guy.
Okay, well, that's exactly what Khan is saying.
Yes.
The reason everyone gets all of these troll accounts, and we all know who they are, okay? The reason everyone has these troll accounts suggested constantly, this, you might like this. And it's like, no, I hate this account. Why would I don't like this. Stop putting it on my timeline.
The ones I've blocked, ones that I know are blocked. And it says, you might like, or hey, this, they're talking about AEW. I don't care. I'm glad. I'm really glad I have blocked them. I don't want to see them. Yeah.
Topic.
Oh, the topics.
Wrestling. And it's the troll account.
The worst.
Topic AEW. And it's the troll account. And okay, so this is what he's saying. He's saying what this study proves is that there are an army of bot accounts and fake accounts commissioned by someone, and he's strongly implying it's WWE, to slap like and slap retweet and engage with the troll accounts, which then pushes the troll accounts up the algorithm and puts them on everybody's timelines. Now, anyone who follows how social media works knows that this is not uncommon at all. This is the game in politics.
Right, I was going to say, U.S. politics. Great example. So.
Yeah, this is the game. It's because these troll accounts are getting all of this artificial engagement, the algorithm thinks that these are, popular tweets, and they're suggesting them to everybody's timelines, even if you don't follow these people, which is why everybody knows who all these troll accounts are, even though a lot of them have like 3,000 followers, 6,000 followers. They're not like heavily followed accounts. And everyone's like, well, why are they all over everybody's timelines? This is why. Because Khan is claiming that his study proves that there is an army of bot accounts propping up all of these anti-AEW troll accounts and gaming the algorithm. I believe it. I mean, there's no reason not to believe that that's not the case, because this is not something that's uncommon. Now, obviously, what's happening is all of the world's dumbest people think that Khan is saying that the troll accounts themselves are bots. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying the bots are propping up the troll accounts.
Oh, okay. So you're getting the bot accounts are doing laugh cry emojis. Oh, Tony Khan doesn't think I'm real. Ha ha.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. Chef's kiss. Yeah. I love it.
So now that's what's happening on Twitter.
Oh, God.
All of the troll accounts who we already knew were all like the world's dumbest people. Like, these people aren't very bright. Like, they're taking it as Tony Khan is claiming that we're all bots and we're fake because nobody could possibly dislike his amazing wrestling company.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the tact they're taking with it now. And yeah, they're tweeting like robot heads at each other and beep bop boop. And, they're just complete idiots because they don't understand what he's saying. But what he probably should have done, like what he put out in his tweet was, I know this to be true. We have the study. And then he said, you internet detectives are really good at this stuff. You can go research it yourself. You'll find the same conclusion. And now people have researched it themselves. And if you look, they're finding like beneath these tweets, they're going through the likes, and it's all of these 0 follower accounts with Roman Reigns avatars and like random bot names like, Steve 9765543. You know,
right.
Name, letters, and numbers, and like a Sasha Banks avatar or a WWE avatar, and they have no followers and they have no tweets, but they just spend all day hitting like on the troll accounts and replying, and you know, it's just so. I mean, look, this is not far-fetched. Like, people are acting like Tony Khan is an insane person.
No, I mean, it literally, if you lived in America in the last election cycle, you know this to be very, very, very true, and very obvious to everybody that this is going on.
And if you don't think WWE would lower themselves to participating in this type of scheme, or concocting this kind of scheme, or pouring money into this kind of gaming of social media to, you know, because you might be thinking, oh, well, why would WWE, a publicly traded billion-dollar company making record profits, waste any time or resources to spotlight AEW troll accounts? What's the return on that, and why would they waste their time? There can't be much return on that investment. Wouldn't they be above that? This is the same company that spends $2,000 a week to get fast nationals on Friday nights, and we're sending these fast nationals to all of these media outlets, all of which stopped running them after a couple of weeks when they realized what WWE was up to, except for one guy, the cheese platter guy, the cheese platter idiot, who is Alfred Konuwa, who's the only guy left who's running the fast nationals.
Well, running them on certain weeks.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Which is the best part of the entire thing. Is that everybody goes, uh-oh, we haven't heard from Alfred. That means AEW Rampage must have done really well, or you know, it's so the best. I love it.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the Fast National thing, if you recall, Wrestling Inc. was putting them out. Sean Ross Sapp did it 1 week, I think. A whole number of people. Raj Giri was doing it. Who's the Jakar Noor nightclub guy?
Andrew Zarian.
Andrew Zarian was putting them out. And then slowly but surely, once everybody got sniffed out the hustle, and remember, we're the ones that broke that story, that it was WWE feeding everybody the Fast Nationals. And then Sean Ross Sapp said, I don't want nothing to do with this. He stopped. And that's not really his game anyway. Like ratings and business, he's a scoops guy. He doesn't really. Right.
He didn't need it. It adds nothing to his business whatsoever. He doesn't need it.
Yeah. Wrestling Inc., Raj Giri said, I don't want to do this anymore. Andrew Zarian, he just didn't like the replies. He didn't like being involved in the drama that it brings. So he stopped. He's like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. The only one left standing is the cheese platter dork. So think about this. They're still spending $2,000 a week
to have one person.
To have one person who has like 6,000 followers, which is nothing, and who gets almost no engagement. If you look at his tweets, like his Fast National tweets, even with people constantly, even though half the engagement is just dunks and people telling him he's co-opted and a loser, they still only have like 80 retweets. Or 100 likes. So they're spending this money, $2,000 a week, to spread this Saturday morning propaganda with one guy who gets almost no engagement that nobody takes seriously. So why wouldn't they put resources, time, and money into having bots? What's the word I'm looking for when you spotlight someone on social media? What's the phrase everybody uses? Signal boost. To signal boost and cheat the algorithm, these troll accounts. You're telling me they wouldn't do that? Like, it's similarly, it's a very similar scheme in terms of being petty and seemingly non-impactful, but that's the game they play. They play it with the cheese platter guy every week. Why wouldn't they be behind this one? Someone's behind it. Who else would it be? Who else would have any interest, right, in gaming the social media algorithms in this way so that there's negative AEW content at the top of everybody's Twitter feeds? There's no one else who would want to do that other than WWE.
Right, or who would have the money, who would have that the
motivation,
capital, the motivation, the capital, all that sort of stuff, the resources to do it as well. Yeah. Makes sense.
So It's totally believable that they're behind it. Khan didn't flat out say that. He just said in the tweet, I don't know if you saw it, he said, now think about who would want to be behind such a scam.
Yeah.
Like, he strongly implied that that's who it is. Someone just hit a grand slam in that game that you couldn't put on.
I think his name is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how I put it? Remember how you said that I was going to put this on and things were going to go immediately to shit? Well, here we go. So
Otani gives up a grand slam.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what's going on with the bots. It's totally plausible, totally believable. I 100% think it's happening. It's that's WWE's playbook. That's what they do. And it definitely answers the mystery of how all of these shitty accounts end up being so prominent when really nobody follows them. It's the same circle jerk of people following each other, yet all of these accounts,
because it is pretty remarkable. These ones that you're talking about, you'll see, and they have 1,400 likes and 720 retweets, and you're like, oh my god, this must be. And then you look, and the account's got like 7,000 followers. You're like, what? Like, that's insane. Yeah. Like, it's. I just always chalked it up to like, oh, they must have nothing of value to actually offer, and so people. Well, but it's the same accounts all the time that are doing the same. And I'm like, people are still just liking all these accounts and retweeting them, but never following them. Okay, you know what I mean? Okay, or it's, like you said, it's just those people following. It's very bizarre, but. Yeah, I mean, anybody again, if you lived through American politics over the most recent years, you know that this is just a game, and used by all sides too. Like, no question, like used by all sides. And honestly, I wouldn't be super surprised if at some point AEW doesn't say, well, why don't we get involved in it? If this is the way we got to play the game and we got to play dirty, then okay, fine, we'll play dirty. Like, it's kind of the game now, and it sucks. It's making all this already horrid social media even more horrid, which is great. That's exactly what we needed. Is for this just to suck even more and be even more of an embarrassing, awful time waste of all of our lives. So
yeah, and it's not even just like the idea is not they're trying to brainwash wrestling fans into thinking it's bad. It's not just that. It's everything. It's advertisers. It's people who don't know anything about wrestling think that all of these wrestling accounts think AEW is shit. You know what I mean? So it's like they're just trying to control, change. I was going to say control narrative.
I was going to say, EC3 is going to get at you if you talk about that, yeah.
He's kind of ruined that phrase. He's kind of ruined that phrasing for everybody else. But, I mean, that's kind of – and again, in the grand scheme, what is it really accomplishing? Probably not much, but that they're not above that. Of course they're not above that. Hell
no. Good God. Look at the history of this company if you think they're above that.
Yeah, the fucking Fast Nationals. I mean, it's a waste of time. Like, they even had Darren Rovell doing it at first, remember? Like, he put out...
Yeah, right.
And then he got dogpiled the first week, and then he was like, oh, I'm not participating. Even he backed out and stopped participating in it. But he obviously... I'm sure that Nick Khan knows everybody. I'm sure Rovell's connection was Nick Khan. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Khan is his agent.
I think that's true. I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
he's not anyone's agent anymore.
Right. He had to give that all up. But I'm almost positive that Rovell or Khan was Rovell's agent.
Yeah, so they send it to Rovell too because they know he has a big following, and his following extends beyond wrestling fans. So
my agent of 15 years. Nick Khan is using CAA to become president and CRO of WWE. So,
yeah. So when he gets a WWE PR email with these Fast Nationals, designed to make it look like, Rampage is failing and SmackDown is crushing it and all this, he's not only going to put it out, but because he doesn't know anything about wrestling and because he is pals with Nick Khan, he's going to obviously phrase it in a way that's and I remember his tweet that day was really embarrassing. It was just WWE claims a gigantic victory in week 1 of this gigantic war, and it's like he's not aware that, like, of course everyone else is aware that the show on Fox is gonna beat the show on at 10 o'clock at night on cable, but he doesn't know any better, and it's just that's the game they play, but even he backed out. After the wrestling fans dogpiled him and were like, you're a fucking mutt falling for propaganda, he was, he got out too. There's only one guy left doing it, and they're still spending money
to send it.
So that this guy can tweet it to his 6,000 followers.
Yeah, only when the numbers are good, though.
Only when, right, and only when it's bad for AEW.
Ghost on the days when the numbers are favor AEW or AEW had a great rating and SmackDown didn't. Ghost, can't find him with a search party. It's pretty incredible. So
yeah, and and we took a lot of shit because people thought we were, bullshitting and making up the fact that this was WWE propaganda, and then it all came out that was in fact the case. But yeah, so they would totally be involved in this kind of like, this algorithm scheme. There's no doubt about it. And, and they have the money to burn to do these things. That $2,000 a week is nothing.
Oh, that's good. God, that's chump change for them. Are you kidding?
$100,000 a year, right? It's nothing. So, to their bottom line. And, if they could hire an army of people for $10 an hour to just fucking, or set up, not even hire 2 fucking tech bros to fucking come up with a.
Say I don't have to do anything. Just run a program, run an app, run something in the background, run a code. Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. So that's Tony Khan versus the bots. Right. To catch up, Rich, and summarize for everybody else who isn't on Twitter who listens to the show.
Glad to hear.
Which is a lot of our listeners, by the way. People think like the world revolves around Twitter.
No, it really doesn't. It doesn't matter. It only
does if your life, right?
Yes,
like
if you live on it, everybody lives on it. But trust me, when you get off of it, nobody lives on it. It's so minimal, the amount of people that live on it. It's pretty wild. Until you take a step back and until you do what we did, where we were saying, all right, we're done with Twitter. Let's see how it affects our business, and quite literally, it didn't. It helped our business a lot. So it's...
Oh, you mean everything up since we left Twitter, which I wasn't expecting.
No. We
were like, this could be bad. Let's see how it plays out, though. And everything is up. I don't get it either. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. But whatever.
Social media's bullshit. Yeah, there you go.
I guess so. But that's Tony Khan versus the bots. You want to do some other AEW stuff?
Yeah, thanks for catching me up on that. Yeah, let's go because Tony Khan. With the country of India, trying to get India to happen yet again. We have a new giant in AEW. He is a former NBA draft pick, 52nd overall by the Dallas Mavericks. Did you ever watch the documentary with Satnam Singh? I forget what it was called. I think it was called 1 in a Billion, the Netflix documentary.
No, I never heard of this man until yesterday.
Oh, it's pretty good. Actually, you know what? I would recommend. I don't know if it's still. Let me try to see if it is still available. It was a Netflix. I don't know if they produced it or if it was just on Netflix. Let's see if I go to Netflix watch. Yeah, it appears to still be available on Netflix. Yeah, called 1 in a Billion, all about his journey to try to make it to the NBA, get drafted by the NBA as one of the few people in India playing basketball, regularly playing, being good enough to go to the NBA, and obviously he had everything kind of working for him. It didn't quite work out. He never quite made it all the way there. Got pretty close. Got to the minors. Got to the Texas Legends G League team or whatever. So he was able to get really, really close, but yeah, still didn't. Him, I think your boy Simbalur, he ended up making it for a little while, but.
Simbular played NBA minutes?
I'm trying to remember if he did. I know that I saw a picture of him in a jersey. That may have just been Summer League. Let me see if he actually got any run. They really tried. I want to say he did. Yeah, 3 games in Sacramento. So there you go.
Oh, he did? Well, like 2016 or something like
2015, yeah. And then he had his horrible brother, right? Wasn't there another brother too?
He had a brother, yeah.
It was so bad. I don't know. Whatever happened to that one?
They both played at New Mexico State. Their careers in college overlapped a little. And the brother, I didn't think either one of them were any good. They both moved like bags of sand, but which in today's NBA was going to be a problem. But yeah, the brother was even worse.
Tanvir is his brother.
Yeah, Tanvir Bular. Yeah. Well, what's their connection to the AEW guy? They did a Singh guy.
They're just Indian descent. And Indian descent players trying to make it to the NBA or trying to, and Sim did make it. Singh never did make it, and then he immediately, once the NBA thing was kind of done, he realized that was over. He tries out for WWE, doesn't quite make it there, and then a couple of years later, I forget exactly when it was. It may have been like in 2020, like during the pandemic. A video came out that he had signed with AEW and was going to begin training with AEW, and then you really didn't hear a whole lot from him. He was kind of I remember that they had him. If you looked at the AEW roster, like on Wikipedia, you'd go like, who the fuck is Satnam Singh? And then you'd say, oh, okay, yeah, right. I remember that guy now. Okay. And they kind of just put him on ice. I don't know if I saw him in any training videos. I don't know if anything got released by the Nightmare Factory or whatever. I have no idea where he was training or what was going on. And then out of nowhere, last night, closing segment of Dynamite, there's Satnam Singh. as Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt's heater, which...
Okay, so if this guy never played college ball, what drove the Mavericks to draft him? Like what? Because we're well past the time where teams are just drafting tall guys because they're tall, because the game has changed.
I think that they largely and like he had skills. Like he was a good ball player.
Where was he playing though?
He played in the IMG Academy in America.
Oh, okay.
So he was doing that stuff, and then he was, I forget after that. I think there was some reason why he wasn't eligible for the NCAAs. And if in that documentary, which again, I haven't seen the documentary since it came out, I think he still isn't very, or at that time, he wasn't very good at speaking English. And I don't think that he had some citizenship papers or whatever, so that he couldn't get a scholarship. So if he couldn't get a scholarship, he basically just had no idea what to do. So he basically, out of high school, applied for the NBA draft, I believe. Because technically he could, because he had to wait like a year. You have to be, a year away from your high school career or whatever. So then I think a lot of the selection of him was, I don't know what the Mavericks thought, oh, this guy's going to be great. Like this guy's going to rule. You know what I mean? Like this guy's going to be I think a lot of it was similar to what wrestling companies do when the talent like this, arrives, is like, well, maybe this is something we can, maybe we can unlock something with him. And if we do, like, oh my God, we're going to be the top team in India, and that's going to be huge or whatever. Didn't quite work out, obviously, because he wasn't very good. So, if you watch that documentary, it's clear that a lot of the reason the Dallas Mavericks got him was they weren't really spending a big time draft pick on him. I think it was like, hey, look, if the guy sucks, he sucks, whatever. But if he's good or okay, or we can play him, like the business aspect of getting, an Indian-born NBA player that's got actual talent, like that would far outweigh the negatives here. So let's give it a shot, and it obviously did not work. So.
All right. So here we are. He debuts yesterday with the lights out gimmick. I talked about on the Thursday TV reviews right before this show. I think people are being really, really hard on this, like it was the worst thing they've ever seen. And look, the angle wasn't good. Okay. But I don't think it was nearly as bad as people are making it out to be. To me, the big mistake was turning the lights off, because when you turn the lights off,
especially AEW.
Yes.
They use it a lot.
To wrestling fans, that's telling them a big surprise is coming and you're going to pop through the roof. And then you turn the lights back on and it's a guy that no one's ever heard of. And in this day and age, just being 7'4", whatever, that's, especially an AEW crowd, is not going to be particularly impressed with that unless the guy impresses them. And then his physicality was unimpressive. So forget it. The segment bombed. But I feel like if he just would have come out from the tunnel, or if he would have came in through the crowd behind Samoa Joe, and you have this big, tall, imposing guy.
Right, yeah, Samoa Joe backing up to the barricade, and all of a sudden this big, giant Indian dude chokes him from behind or whatever. That would be cool. That would work.
Yeah, I feel like that would have worked better. Now, the physicality still would have looked like shit, and the angle still probably wouldn't have worked. But once you turn those lights off, you're telling people we've got something big. And then when the lights come on and it's this fucking guy that no one's ever heard of, and then he stinks, that's just a recipe for a bomb. So that's why it bombed. But, I think people are going overboard with how horrible it was.
No.
He looked like...
You're telling me that people are going over... There was one really bad angle on AEW and people are going overboard about it and are not going to let up for months on end. You're out of your mind, Joe. Get out of here.
Again, I didn't think it was good by any means. But man, you would have thought that, I don't even have a comparison to make. It's like I talked about behind the paywall. And, that wasn't even the worst part. That wasn't even the worst thing last night on Dynamite. No. Or the second worst thing. Rich, the worst facet of Dynamite last night was the fact that they have a world title Texas death match in 2 days and didn't do anything to promote it on Dynamite. Why isn't anybody talking about that?
You're right. Yeah, I didn't even think. I was listening to your Thursday Tea reviews, flagshippatreon.com, voicewrestling.com/Patreon, however you want to get there. I was listening and yeah, you mentioned that and I was like, oh yeah, like I completely forgot that that's happening in 2 days. And I watched Dynamite and you're right. Like I just out of sight, out of mind. Like, and then when you mentioned it, I was like, no, that's next week, right? No, that's in 2 days. All right.
How do you not do a huge angle How do you not have Hangman come out and cut a fiery promo? Something.
Those Fast Nationals aren't going to be good. Those Fast Nationals are not going to be good.
I mean, fuck, that's so much worse than debuting some dopey giant. I mean, I understand that was a little bit of a disappointment, with the overrun and Stay Tuned and all this. I get it.
Yeah, not promoting a massive world title match on your show happening in 2 days is pretty bad.
When the show it's on is out of its time slot and you need all the promotion you can get.
That's right. You're right. I forgot about that aspect.
And they do nothing to promote their world title match. Okay? That was the worst thing about Dynamite last night, not this dopey giant. Okay? Because chances are he's just going to stand in the corner during Jay Lethal's matches, and it is what it is. Okay, so let's move into... Oh, and by the way, the second worst thing about Dynamite was that Marina Shafir...
I was going to say, that was my runner for... That's what I assumed it was the number one worst thing in Dynamite, but you're right, not promoting the world title match is. But in any
I'm
other...
not going to repeat my rants.
Yeah, in any other universe, that horrendous match would be the worst thing ever happened on a wrestling show. So
way worse than the Giant as well. But let's talk about the Giant. So I think it's one of three things with this. Either Tony Khan genuinely thinks that this guy can be a big deal and he's going to be a major part of this Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt act moving forward. And make no mistake, Lethal's going to get a big push out of this.
Oh my God. Yeah. If you watch that Ring of Honor, I mean, they were one of the most important factors of that Ring of Honor show. The closing angle of the Ring of Honor show was all about them. It was all about this feud. And then, it leads into Dynamite. So it ended the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor show was Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt versus Samoa Joe. And then it caps off this Dynamite episode as well. I mean, that's big. Like that is a very a spotlight, a shining light, a neon sign telling you that, if you don't like Jay Lethal, you're not going to like Dynamite and ROH a lot, moving forward. Because they're going to push the hell out of that.
I mean, he's crazy over every time he wrestles. I mean, when he wrestled Mox a few weeks ago, they were doing "Let's Go Mox, Let's Go Lethal" dueling chants. I mean, I am stunned at how over Jay Lethal has been since he came to AEW. And this was even, I think he went like 2 months without even being on TV other than being thrown out first in a battle royal.
Right. And losing a lot too, if I remember correctly, right? Mm-hmm. I forget what the record was, but I think someone pointed out that he's like basically, never winning on TV.
Yeah. Well, they brought him out. Well, yeah, his whole deal was he would lose to the upper mid-carders and he'd have good matches against the upper mid-carders and lose.
Which is what I thought his role was going to be, honestly. And I'm kind of fine with that. Like, he's a good veteran hand to go out there. You can have him win every so often, but he takes a loss and it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter. Kind of what we said about Bobby Fish as well before Kyle O'Reilly came, is that if O'Reilly was not going to be available and you couldn't put Red Dragon back together, that's a great role for Bobby Fish as well. That guy that, he can get a win over the undercard guys. He can get a win, get a few squash matches, but then when he's in there with the big boys, he loses, but at least he's going to give you a solid enough match. You know what you're going to get out of him.
Effort.
He's a professional through and through. So and that's exactly what I thought Jay Lethal's role was going to be.
Yeah, and it was what his role was until this push, and that was what Bobby Fish's role was until Kyle O'Reilly showed up, and it's what Tony Nese has been, and I guess now Tony Nese is going to get a push, with Mark Sterling. So it's like, but Lethal is over. He has excellent matches every time out. And now they're going to push him. And so Singh is either just going to be an innocuous corner man to look good on TV because he's 7'2" or whatnot, or Meltzer's reporting that they just signed this television deal for India, and there's and it's under the Discovery umbrella, so there's a tie-in there with the Discovery Time Warner merger. So there's a lot of corporate synergy there, and maybe this is a move to throw a bone to your corporate partner by featuring a guy who allegedly is a major celebrity in India. I had someone from India tell me that no one really knows who this guy is, and maybe that's a little overstated. So who knows? If there's any Indian listeners who want to chime in, let us know somehow, Twitter or Discord, whatever. But maybe just throwing their corporate partners in India a bone by featuring this alleged Indian celebrity on the TV. Or maybe Tony, really does believe that this guy can be a star who can help them break through in India.
Yeah, wanted a heater. It works with Sanjay Dutt as well. Like there's a reason. I mean, it doesn't aesthetically, like if this guy was just a dude, if this guy was just a guy like off the street, no background. He was just a guy that trained to become a wrestler. Like, it's still aesthetically, I mean, it's pro wrestling. Like the heater, the giant guy, like that is still something you see very often. It very rarely works in today's wrestling landscape. It almost always doesn't work in today's wrestling landscape, but it's still a very intriguing thing that people always try to do because it looks like it should work. It's wrestling, and there's this giant guy that's gonna beat guys up. Like it always seems like it should work. It's just there's been so many horrible examples of it over the last couple of decades that it just doesn't really work as much as it used to.
It almost never works anymore. I mean, because especially now where people see through just being big. But the aspect of it I want to discuss is if this is this could just be Tony Khan throwing a bone to his corporate partners and making it look like they are, they're featuring this great Indian star by giving him the prominent spot at the end of this television episode. But at the end of the day, he's just going to be standing there in the corner. You know what I mean? But it's a nice piece of footage to send to your Discovery India people who you're doing business with to say, oh, look at that. Look who we, look what we did with this guy. But that could be all it is. But it could be a genuine attempt once again for a wrestling promoter to try to create a great Indian star so they can capitalize on what is the second biggest population in the world and a population that eats up pro wrestling on YouTube and social media, but that nobody has figured out how to monetize, right? And if that's the case, history tells us that this is not going to work. No. Rinka King with Impact and Mahabali Shira with Impact and WWE putting their world title on Jinder Mahal and then building an Indian tour around him, and then that tour flopping so badly that they had to cancel shows, and then he gets beat by Triple H on the last night of the tour. It just never works. WWE has been trying to figure out how to convert these millions of YouTube views into money for years, and they haven't figured out a way. So what would make AEW think that they're going to be the ones to figure out the magic solution of cracking the code in India and turning it into millions and millions of dollars? It seems to me that, this is a large population of people who likes consuming wrestling through YouTube or whatever, but they either because the economy stinks and they don't have the money, or because they just don't want to spend money on it. There's just no way to squeeze any money out of this. So why do they keep trying? What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's such this, like you said, there's still this desire to think, man, somebody's got to be able to figure this out. Like, and I get it. Like they probably look at their numbers. They look at their YouTube views. They're a company, a very data-driven company. So there's no doubt that they look and go, Jesus Christ, all these people from India, we got to get these people. Like, how can we get these people doing this? How can people doing that? And it might have just worked out, like you said, that as of, them signing that TV deal in India, them looking at all the numbers and all the assuming, and I'm just saying I'm assuming, but I don't know that for a fact, but just assuming that their numbers are the social media numbers, the YouTube numbers, all that sort of stuff in India are very high. Because I mean that has been the case in WWE. It's been the case with a lot of sports and entertainment mediums, as they see these numbers coming from India and are always just like, all right, how can we get these people to actually give us money? How can we get these people? How can we monetize this stuff to more than just following us on social media, liking us, retweeting us, and watching stuff on YouTube? How can we get these people to buy stuff, to watch stuff, to really go out and do more than just consume our stuff on there? So I get it. There's that temptation where you just look at that number and go, God, we got to try to get something of this. Even if we get 5% of these people to start buying stuff or purchasing something, then we're in the money. We're doing well. Like, I get it. I understand totally but it's going to take, it might require everybody to fail at it and everybody to try and then fail at it on their own to then never go back to it. Because WWE has not gone back to it. What was that, 2016, the Jinder Mahal thing? And they're done. They have not gone back to that whatsoever. They haven't even bothered.
When's the last time? Do you have to go back to Bret Hart? Wasn't he a legitimate draw in India?
Yes. In
India and also the Middle East, and also I think Bret Hart was a big, but that's going back, 25 years, almost 30 years. And before that, you'd have to go maybe all the way back to Dara Singh. I mean, just it's no one has been able to make money there, and not lack of trying. I mean, Impact has been putting effort into that seemingly for. I don't know if this is what Tony Khan's bone, and it's good to have an Indian star on your TV if you're trying to cut business deals in India. And like you said, it's not just Singh, but it's also Sanjay Dutt now as well. So, now there's an Indian presence on the television that wasn't there before.
Right.
And and this guy is 7'2" or whatever, and he's allegedly a big celebrity over there. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a night we're going to make a star out of this optical that AEW can make any inroads into India that these other companies. The way that Jinder Mahal was booked.
Joe, can you hear me real quick? Hello.
That year, and then they set up that tour, and then everything just flopped so badly. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, you might want to disconnect and come back. Yeah, it's disconnect and come back, and we'll try to get Joe again. Yeah, he's in and out. So, bad connections going on today. Let's see. I'll try to get everything out of my system to see if that's good to go. But yeah, we'll try to get Joe back in here and figure out what was going on there. But one of the things, and I think Joe was kind of starting to talk about it there before he left, but one of the things that I do wonder about, it's kind of the same issue that they did with Jinder is with WWE, and I wonder if they're going into the same issue here with Singh and with Dutt, is that do Indian fans really give a shit if guys if they're like heels and like hated, awful heels or whatever? Joe, are you back? In the abyss. Yeah, oh God, he's in the abyss again. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm back.
All right. Well, you're back for now. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. So I forgot to mention, I was talking a bit, and then I'll get to my other point. I forgot they did the WWE India thing. Remember they did that tournament that was kind of awesome? They hired a bunch of those people, and then that was all those people are gone now. So that was, again,
Superstar
another
spectacle?
Yeah. So they did try it again. I forget about that. I completely forget that a couple years ago they tried it again, but then, of course, yet again, they decided, okay, this isn't going to work. Forget it. And all those people are gone and fired, and really didn't follow up on that whatsoever. But what I was going to say is the presentation of these characters might be an issue in the sense that when Jinder was there, it was, he's evil, he's an awful foreigner, yada, all that sort of stuff. And I do wonder if there is that issue of, okay, are people in India going to get invested in this evil, awful, guy beating up Samoa Joe and Sanjay Dutt, the evil, awful man? Like, why would they get invested in that? Like, you were mentioning Bret Hart earlier, and people might be thinking, oh yeah, it's the Canada, but no, Bret Hart was hugely popular in all those countries and all over the world when he was still a good guy, when he was still the clean-cut Canadian babyface or whatever. And then, his popularity in Canada exploded even more when he did the Hart Foundation stuff. But I do wonder if, like, they're making the wrong attempt at, if you're going to create an Indian fan base, is making the every Indian on your TV evil and awful, is that going to make people start watching? I don't know. It didn't work for WWE. It didn't make them, get invested in Jinder Mahal. But on the flip side, Malabala Shira, who at times was the Indian superstar, hot baby face, all that sort of stuff, Shira Shuffle, all that sort of stuff, that didn't really result in anything either. So I don't know. There's probably no right answer.
Shira also stunk.
He was terrible. Yeah. Well,
so that couldn't help.
Sting's going to stink too. I mean, let's be honest.
It sure looks like it. Look, these big 7-foot-tall basketball players, your El Gigantes, your Great Khali's, your Giant Silva. What was his name in the oddities? I can never remember.
Giant Silva. I think he was Giant Silva.
He's the same name. Okay.
I think he was Silva. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think.
Almost.
Great. Almost is another one. He stinks because Great Khali was Giant Singh elsewhere. I think that's where I'm confused. They gave Great Khali a new name, and Giant Silva they kept. Okay, but none of these guys are ever good, and but it doesn't stop wrestling promoters from trying because they just look so physically imposing, and but yeah, they've been trying to find another Andre the Giant for 50 years, and it just never. Ron Reese. I mean, you could even there's just so many of them, and There's no reason to think that this one will work any better.
There was a parade of them in the early FCW days. Remember your
Eli Cottonwood?
Eli Cottonwood. Who was the one dude that was around for like Jackson? What was his name? Jackson something. I forget. You know who I'm talking about? He appeared one time. Not Ezekiel Jackson. Maybe it's not Jackson. I forget his name.
Oh! I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah. He's a white guy.
Yeah, he kind of looked like a dollar store Kevin Nash guy. He was just I forget his name. Blanking on
I can't think of his name either.
Yeah.
But isn't it widely known? Like, isn't it a thing where advertisers and companies and even YouTube itself, don't they track YouTube views, total views, and then also track total views minus India because they know that it's impossible to monetize and advertisers aren't even concerned with numbers coming out of India? Did I imagine that? Or is that
no, you're right. I mean, we do it at my place. I mean, I could tell you from my work, it's like we don't sell in, one part of my company doesn't have anything to do with India, and yet like we have, 800 people a day from India like going on our website and doing stuff, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that's completely irrelevant. So,
but they never buy anything,
right? Never buy. They can't buy anything, and they never do. But sometimes and we do have and the other part of my business does have parts in India, and we get a lot of traffic from India, but we sell a couple of things. We sell a handful of things in India, but it gets huge numbers. It's so, but yeah, it's a strange area. It's a very strange area in terms of how marketers handle it. People are still to this day, it does feel like this great unknown because there's so many people and there seems so engaged in a lot of different ways. But people that have studied it have looked at different parts of poverty, looked at like, hey, look, it's free to watch something on YouTube. It's free to consume something on Twitter. It's not free to buy a pay-per-view. It's not free to buy t-shirts. It's not free to buy, a streaming service or whatever. So yeah, they're of course going to go into more of that direction. And it's so many people in a certain demographic or whatever. So it's strange. I don't know. It's the great mystery.
Okay. So is it the population combined with the fact that it's a very tech savvy nation and they're extremely online, but they just, due to the economy there or whatever.
That's a lot of the research I've seen has done that, but I don't think anybody's quite clear if that's it or if they just haven't been properly engaged or properly figured out yet. It might just be that they're so tech savvy and they just say, I'm not going to pay for this shit. Like, we're the dummies in America saying, oh, I better give, WWE $19 on Peacock, so I can watch whatever. And they're just like, fuck it, I'll watch it on YouTube. Who gives a shit? That they might be smarter than us in that sense. So,
yeah, I don't know. But the point here is it's even outside of wrestling, this is kind of a well-known thing where it's very, very hard to monetize India. So I don't know, but it's just funny how wrestling promoters will just never stop with this. It's just too tempting, I guess, when they see the numbers to try to crack the code and figure out a way. Or it could have just been, maybe in order to make these television deals in some of these countries, they just want some representation on the show, and they may not even be concerned with whether the person is a star or not, or, they might not even know the difference. Like, what does some television executive in India know about wrestling to know the difference between whether Singh is on the same level of star as, John Moxley?
Right.
They just see him on the show and assume that you know what I mean? So it could just be a matter of, just getting that representation on the show just to make these people happy, so it's easier to cut these deals. But look, the debut didn't get over very well with the core fan base, that's for sure. So we see what happens moving forward. I suspect he'll just be a guy standing in the corner. I mean, that's just my gut, but I guess we'll find out.
And then one more, well, a couple more AEW things here, and then we'll get into some other topics. But the news of a big time merger in media, Warner and Discovery, so it's Discovery technically absorbing Warner. Is that right, or is it just kind of like a straight?
Yeah.
Because in all of these, there's always one kind of power. They can say it's a merger, a deal, or whatever. But like AOL Time Warner, everybody knew that AOL, whether they should have been or not, but they were the ones kind of running it and the ones kind of more in control of the situation. As far as I've read it, Discovery is in this case, right?
The important thing is a new person is in charge of the programming. That's the important thing,
and that's led to a lot of people doing wild, dumb speculation. Oh,
and
sorry.
it'll
We're
come.
talking over each other. This tech stuff is awful. All right. Ah, boy.
One of those.
Joe is left again. You know what I'm gonna do next time? I'm gonna try to leave. Joe, are you back?
I am back.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to leave. See how that works. I'll be right back, sir.
All right.
Ugh, brutal. Okay. A moment, everybody. All right. Hello. It's somehow just me. Joe's not here. What the hell is going on? Oh, God. Hey, there we go. You guys are hearing all the behind the scenes. Hey, what's going on, Joe?
Yes.
All right. All the behind the scenes. This is great. This is
What an
classic
awful
flagship
show.
here. Classic flagship. It's awful.
And of course, it's live.
Yeah.
Makes
Oh,
it
yeah.
even,
But back in the day, you guys wouldn't hear any of this stuff. This used to happen all the time, but you wouldn't know, or it's the bot. Yeah, Walter Barker is correct. The bots have gotten us. You talk shit about the bots, and they listen. They're aware, and now they got it. So
maybe it is the bots. Maybe they're infiltrating us as well. But yeah, so this merger, new person in charge of the programming. So of course, some people are tugging their collars and getting a little nervous. The obvious difference between this and what happened with WCW is that WCW was owned by the entity that killed it because it was losing a shit ton of money. So that's not the case here. This is just a partnership. Tony Khan owns the company, and it is delivering ratings for for TBS and TNT, and ratings that obviously. You could just look at the ratings yourself and know that they have to be happy with them. I mean, Dynamite's in the top 5 every week. Occasionally it's number 1. It usually only finishes behind, NBA games like it did this week. And Rampage, airing out of primetime, is very often top 10, sometimes top 5 as well, and very often wins its 10 o'clock time slot. So, obviously the numbers are there. And it doesn't really matter whether AEW is losing money or making money because the network doesn't own it. All they're concerned with what it's producing from a rating standpoint and what it's producing in advertiser revenue.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, wrestling is historically produces less advertising revenue for comparable shows that draw the same ratings for, because everyone thinks that wrestling fans are dullards and don't have any money and are uneducated and all those things. And in a lot of cases, they're right. So, there's that to factor in, but the numbers are very strong and you would think they'd be okay with them. But none of us know what's going to shake out here. This new woman in charge, whose name is escaping me, she might just fucking hate pro wrestling like Jamie Kellner did. I don't know. But, they do have a contract that runs another, year and a half or 2 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, I can get the exact detail, but yeah, they got a little while. It's not imminent, they're not putting them up there tomorrow,
Yeah, and if they're not going to cancel them, and if they don't want them anymore at the end of the contract, someone else will. I mean, with the numbers it's putting up. So, and there's no doubt that that NBC and Fox are at minimum going to use Tony Khan to leverage against WWE in the negotiations. That's absolutely going to happen. They'd be stupid not to. So whether they truly want to switch over to AEW or not, that's just business. So from that standpoint, even if, the new leadership at this Discovery Turner thing doesn't want them anymore, I would, with the numbers they're putting up, somebody will. This isn't a situation like Impact where they keep falling further and further down the dial because they don't produce viewers. And every time there's a change at one of the networks they're airing on, they have to find a new home. And they desperately take any deal that comes their way because they're not producing numbers. These shows produce numbers.
Yeah, anybody that makes the comparison, and you saw a lot of that last week. Oh, here we go. This is, let's see what Eric Bischoff has to say about this, how this relates to the WCW merger. It doesn't. I mean, yes, it was a merger of media companies. That is that is how they are the same. And one of the companies involved in it is a wrestling company. But like you said, yeah, the whole giant difference of the two things was that WCW was wholly owned by Turner. AOL Time Warner gets in place, looks at all the books, goes, what the fuck is this thing that's losing, $50-60 million a year? And then Jamie Kellner goes, wait a minute, so we're giving these assholes primetime television, they're losing $60 million a year? Yes, fuck them, get them out of here. Like, what the hell are we doing? Get this shit out of my TV as quick as possible. And he got it off his TV. That is not the same case. Yeah. This lady can come in, Kathleen Finch, I believe is her name. That's what Sean Cedar had to say. Thank you, Sean Cedar. Can come in and say, oh, I don't like pro wrestling, but, yes, she can say that. But there might be other people at the table that go, well, yeah, Kathleen, I know, but if you look, I mean, here's the ad revenue, here's the ratings, they consistently put us the top of the 18 to 49, here's the growth year over year. Like, she might still ultimately say, no, I want pro wrestling off my she could say that if she wanted to. She's absolutely in her right to do that, but there's going to be, you would assume that there would be either some amount of pushback or some amount of, hey, before we do this, let's look at the numbers. Let's run the, whereas when Jamie Kellner decided, I don't want to give this shit any time on my networks anymore, there wasn't really the, if it was 1997 and Jamie Kellner goes, what the hell is this shit? I don't want this shit on my network. They could say, hey, whoa, buddy, this is making like a lot of money. It's getting good ratings. It's doing well. The fact that he made this call in 2001 when it's just bleeding money, hemorrhaging money at this point, it was a very easy thing for everybody at Turner to go, yeah, fuck, get this thing out of here. Yeah. Go away. Like,
bring me the Friends reruns.
Right, exactly. How much do Friends reruns cost? Oh, 1/90th of what we're paying for WCW? Cool. Get this shit out of here. Start playing Friends again. That anybody that makes the connection right away is an idiot, a complete dullard, trying to make that connection of figure, other than it being some of the same companies but not even really. I mean, yeah, it's TNT. The turnover of this stuff is insane. Warner Media, no, it's not anybody that's still that was in charge when WCW was around. And again, the big difference is, like we just said, they're not the same companies. They're not in the same positions. There's really nothing the same. Ultimately, the result could end up being the same, but it's not going to be, they just won't give them TV time anymore. It's not like AEW will cease to exist. It'll be rough going. Like, they would need to find another network. They would need to find more TV. They would have to do all that sort of stuff.
I don't think they'd have any problem finding another network.
You're right. Now, it might be not a great deal, and that's a possibility, and that would suck. But I think, if it's even above what they're doing now, it's probably okay. I don't think they're on like a budget where they are bleeding money and need a TV deal. I'm sure they would love it. It would make life a lot easier if their TV deal, doubled or tripled or quadrupled or whatever. That would obviously make, life a lot easier, but it's not WCW where they will just cease to exist if this woman says, I don't want that on my network anymore.
Well, they're banking on a raise, and with the numbers they're doing, they deserve one.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, though. Then if you don't get that raise, that would suck, but it's not ultimately not going to kill the company.
Right. Maybe Tony does say, "Oh, screw it, it's not worth it anymore," and goes out. I don't think he would make that case.
No.
I don't think he would make that case. I think he would fight and try to get a deal.
I think he would cut budget before he would close up shop. I mean, because he this is a passion project for him as well. That's the other thing. It's not okay for Sinclair. It was strictly a line item. It was business, Ring of Honor. And then when it became bad business to hold on to Ring of Honor, they shut it down. For Tony Khan, it's business and it's also a passion project. So if he has budgeted a raise coming in 2 years and then the raise doesn't come, I think he would then put Mookie to work and adjust that budget. He's not going to shut down. I mean, that's not right. There'd be no reason to, as they continue to, grow ratings and grow pay-per-view year over year and everything else, and build up a tape library. And, that's the other thing coming. I mean, you buy ROH and get all their tapes. You continually, every week that you exist, continue to add, 3 hours of TV, and then another 2 hours, 2+ hours of YouTube footage. So, you're adding 5 hours a week of content to your own library, because eventually they're, going to sell their content to some service, whether it's the Discovery, conglomerate service that's coming down the pike, whether it's, Discovery and Time Warner and HBO merging into some. I mean, we talked about this a year ago, how these streaming services are eventually, there's going to be 4 or 5 dominant ones, and everyone else is either going to be folded into those or die.
Right. And think of where the numbers are where they were 5 years ago when there was 1,400. I mean, every little company had their own little thing. Every little network had their own little thing. Everybody was doing their own little thing. And it's now slowly getting, now you got Paramount Plus, which entails all the CBS stuff and all the Comedy Central stuff and all the, all that sort of, it's very Peacock, which is a conglomerate of all the NBC Universal properties. Like little by little, they're all kind of coming together. And absolutely. We said it a year ago, and it will, this time next year, there will be 4 or 5, and they're just going to be, Paramount Plus, Peacock, you'll obviously have your Netflix and stuff like that, whatever this new Discovery thing is. But they're not going to run Discovery Plus, HBO Max, and all these other things on their own little things. Eventually, they'll all get kind of looped in together and smashed together to make, one giant conglomerate. So,
and Nick Khan saw that happening, and he said, why are we competing? Just sell it. Take the bag. Take the guaranteed money. And now Tony Khan is obviously building up a library, and at some point, when he has X amount of hours that he can walk into a meeting and say, I have, 10,000 hours or whatever it is of wrestling footage, and let's talk, because these 4 or 5 giant streaming service conglomerates are constantly going to be on the lookout for content as they compete with each other. And right now they're overpaying. So it's kind of a race to get there. And
well, and one, if you're in tune with sports media as well, we see it going on right now with MLB. I mean, the season is going on, and they're still cutting deals for live games as the season is going on, because every company now, like normal cable television, sees the value in having live streaming stuff on their platform. So Apple Plus now is showing games on whatever fucking day of MLB. Friday nights. Peacock is now showing live, baseball games on, was it Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings or whatever. I mean, every
Sunday morning.
Yeah, so they're cutting these deals as the season is going on. Like, as the season is going on, we're learning that, by the way, some games are going to be on Apple Plus now because we just made this deal. So the idea of, like you're saying, there is going to be a deal there for something. Somewhere I have a live property that I can offer to you guys. I have a live business. I have all the infrastructure ready to go. I just need a place to air it, and you just need to give me money. That will be there. That there will no doubt be a place for live, quote unquote, sports content on one of these platforms. And all you need to do is follow the current. I mean, they're chopping up and dicing up, the MLB season. Like, it makes no fucking sense anymore. I have no idea how you could follow this if you're over the age of 7. Like, how do I explain to my parents how to watch these games if they were trying to watch these games? If the White Sox were on Apple Plus, the idea of trying to explain to them how to get Apple Plus and what, it's just not going to happen. They're just going to say, forget it, whatever. But there's going to be enough people that are going to say, screw it. And we're going to see it with the NFL season this year as well. This is a really ambitious NFL season where they're going to try to start putting a lot of these things away from major networks and on these actual platforms, live streaming, and that's going to be the only way to see them, and that's going to be a big, big moment as well. So
they sold a package to Amazon.
Yeah.
And Thursday Night Football, they sold it to Amazon. And it was a Thursday night? I think it's Thursday night.
I believe that's the case, yeah.
And, unless you live in the home market of one of the teams, because the NFL has that thing where if you live in the home market, you get it on. But everyone else, you're going to have to find it. And it's like you said with baseball, I think they have games. They now have games on Apple.
Trying to figure this out is insane.
Apple, what was the other one you said?
Peacock.
Apple, Peacock, DirecTV, YouTube. That's 4.
MLB TV, if you count that.
Yeah, that's its own separate thing. That's 5. So there's at least 5 different streaming outlets where if you want to be able to not miss a game, you have to be able to, figure out a way to watch. That's crazy. But it's baseball has taken the route of let's not go exclusive, right? Let's spread it out and make deals with all of these entities at once. Whereas WWE took the route of let's just sell the whole fucking thing to Peacock and just be done with it and take the guaranteed money. So there's different strategies too. So, but anyway, that's another revenue stream that obviously AEW is looking at in the near future. And
right. And also wasn't there for WCW at the time as well. So
correct. And I would think that they would prefer to get everything under one umbrella, have your TV and then sell your streaming service to, sell your streaming stuff to the same service that you're using. But, it doesn't have to be, because look at WWE. They have TV deals with Fox and NBC, and then they sold their streaming service to NBC. So, which, and then there was some issues with Fox, remember, where it was like, well, hold on now. Why are you, you're advertising NBC over our air? Remember, they were getting annoyed with all the Peacock ads on SmackDown and those sorts of things. And then WWE had to move a couple of major stars to SmackDown to make Fox happy. And it's just, it all becomes a big mess. So you'd rather keep everything under the same umbrella if you can. And, we'll see if the new people in charge, who knows, this woman may be looking at all this and, be a gigantic fan of it and, think, oh, this is great for us. No one knows anything. Like, this is all just blind speculation.
It's so weird. You got people saying, oh, she produced like this show, so I don't think she's going to like the Pizza Cutter. And it's like, you don't know anything.
You don't know anything. These Discovery channels have, like you said, they have a show that's about pimple pop.
Yeah, TLC is the worst network you have ever seen. It's just pimple popping. It's feet shows. It's my 9,000-pound wife. Like, it's awful. Yeah. It's the worst. It's so horrible.
This isn't highbrow entertainment.
Right, yeah. She's not sitting there going, no, only nature documentaries. Like, what do you think Discovery is these days? It's not, it's not just Planet Earth on 24/7. Like, get over it.
Yeah. No, really, it is. It's all trash reality TV stuff. Dr. Pimple Popper is a real show. Like, it's a show about pimple popping, and it's like, even if this person is opposed maybe to the blood, all right, well, then you only do it on pay-per-view. That's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, if they've got to cut back on the blood on TV, or if they've got to cut back on the swearing and they can't say shit on TBS anymore, like, that's not a big deal. Okay, you can limit that stuff to pay-per-view, just like Ricky Starks is only Stroke Daddy when they're on pay-per-view. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares? These are small potatoes in the grand scheme. But again, this is all just blind speculation that everybody, it's just.
I love doing it. Oh, well, the Pizza Cutter. We're still on the fucking Pizza Cutter, Joe. We're still on the pizza thing.
Yeah.
The real Pizzagate is this.
Which, by the way, circling back to our conversation at the top, another example of WWE doing something incredibly petty.
Oh,
feeding the Pizzagate story to like a content farm. Remember the shitty site that they fed it to? Also, it wasn't even like a major website. It was like,
oh yeah, that's right. What was that site? Oh wow,
it was some writer
really
who
weird.
It was some writer who basically just takes money to do propaganda stories, because they couldn't get legitimate sources to take the story. So that's how far down the ladder they went. He was basically the cheese platter dork of his industry. Like,
right.
So even, again, this is what they do. This is their playbook. It's pretty crazy how a company of their size wastes their time with this kind of thing. But anything to get a headline out there that an advertiser was mad at AEW, even if it meant stooping as so low as to use, a writer who was almost instantly exposed as someone who just had no credibility whatsoever. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, it's just blind speculation that's really a waste of time until we truly understand the MO of the person in charge. And, the ink's barely dry on any of this, and we don't know anything. So I just want people to be clear on the differences between this and the WCW situation, which is, that's one thing that you can talk about and be sure about. But beyond that, nobody knows how any of this is going to. All we know is they have another 2 years or whatever on their current deal.
Right. And then some, conversations to happen pretty soon. But yeah, these things can both be like completely game changing, and everything changes and everything goes nuts and everything goes wild. And sometimes it's business as usual. You know what I mean? They're just a conglomerate trying to move money to one end to the other, consolidate resources, fire a bunch of people. Who knows? Like, we have no earthly idea what this is going to be. And going up, here we go. Like, let's strap in. This is the end of AEW. Like, calm down. I mean, reel it in a little.
The worst case doomsday thing that I would be stunned if this person came in and canceled the shows with the numbers that they produce. It just would stun me.
It'd be a terrible. I mean, it'd honestly be a bad move for her.
Yeah.
The stupid
move. That would stun me. Now, would it surprise me if this person's like, we're going to honor this contract and then move on? No, that wouldn't surprise me at all, because again, I don't know this person's philosophies. I don't know what they think of wrestling. I don't know what they think of the numbers the show is generating versus what they're generating in advertising. I don't know any of those things.
Well, she was big in Property Brothers, so of course she's very upset by the blood. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, you also think that this like high level business executive has like a conscience and doesn't just care about money? Like, what world do you live in? Like, no, I can't have this on my network. Like, oh, we're winning and then ratings? Cool, great, awesome. We're getting good ads? Great, cool, awesome. Like,
but again, the blood doesn't even matter. Like, no. She might be like, I don't want blood, and then you just don't do blood. That's not a big deal. You know, it's like, if you stop doing blood on TV, all that's going to do is give Vince McMahon one less thing to passive aggressively bang on you about on his investor calls. You know, it's not really, the blood and the profanity in the grand scheme is not a big deal at all, even if the person wants to put a stop to that. So I don't know. It's just a wait and see thing.
Well, Tony obviously getting ahead of the game here, signing deals with some pretty fun stuff on the international front as well. So AEW programming now appearing on New Japan World with Japanese commentary from Shingo Takagi, which people that have listened in have said is actually pretty incredible. The Shingo, have you watched an AEW show with Shingo on commentary yet? You don't know what he's saying, so it doesn't really matter. But
no, but I guess I should fire up the VPN and give it a try. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard it. People say it's great, so I don't know if the translation
I don't
sound,
know what the fuck he's
but
saying,
you don't know what he's saying. Yeah, so that's the other thing. You're just hearing an excitable Shingo Takagi. You have no idea what he's saying, and then you can eventually read what people, but they could be fucking with you. Who knows? Like, so I don't think they are, but he seems like a very excitable man that enjoys his wrestling. So that's kind of cool for Japanese fans. And they have teased that live versions may be coming soon, but for now, only replays. And also AEW content showing up on Wrestle Universe here very quickly. So obviously in March, they reached a deal with DDT to bring some wrestlers stateside. Takeshita coming very soon, right? Do we have a date on that? Did I miss any news in the last week of when because he's imminent, right? He's done with DDT for the foreseeable future.
He's doing a full-on 1-year excursion.
Okay.
So, they have a chance to, the last time he came, he was only in for like a week or something. So they didn't bother really doing any. I'm not even sure if he was on TV. I'm sure someone will correct me, but I know he did YouTube stuff, and but they didn't bother, pushing him or giving him a major storyline or anything because he wasn't going to be around. But now that they have him for a year, I mean, that's a guy you can do something with. We talk about it all the time. It's actually an advantage knowing that finite amount of time, because you can really plan an arc around him. So, we'll see. But having him for a year, I suspect that Khan will use him in a much more prominent way than he did when he had him for a week.
But also with that is that AEW matches are going to be appearing on Wrestle Universe, as we said. So any AEW matches that have DDT wrestlers or Tokyo Joshi Pro wrestlers will eventually be added to the service Wrestle Universe. It also says the talents involved are going to do commentary over their matches too. So I don't know what that entails exactly, but yeah, that's kind of cool. That now you got a little bit more, some more ways to watch AEW across the world as well. So on New Japan World and Wrestle Universe. So yeah, being a friend to all is can have many benefits. Many benefits.
So Takeshita last time he beat Danny Limelight on Dark Elevation. He won a 6-man with Omega and Nakazawa against Limelight and the Seidel brothers on the following week's Dark Elevation. And then he worked that house show. And the one that they filmed, but they're saving for a rainy day. Remember they did that one house show?
Rainy day it's gonna be a wild house show. It's like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think he saved. You remember Tony Khan was very excited about that. He told us that it was such a great show. It reminded him of ECW, and he's like, I cannot wait for the world to see this. And I think
it was like 2 years ago, though.
Well, I think he's saving it for. I think it's going to be one of the selling points of maybe a streaming service or something like that, where it's like unseen footage and and now they obviously have the rights to all in, with the ROH purchase. So. But yeah, those are the 3 matches that Takeshita worked last time. So they didn't put him on TV. It's very similar to when they brought in who's the gimmick Joshi wrestler that acts like a baby? What's her name? I can't stand her. You know who I'm talking about. What's her name? That shitty gimmick. She sings and then she's very awful.
Ito.
It's similar to how they
the
used
way you describe, like she's a baby.
Well, she does
cry.
like
she does. Yeah, she has hissy fits or whatever. I get what you're saying.
One of her spots is she has like the crying fit in the ring and stomps her feet and everything. That's what it's just awful. But similar how they used her. Like I think they did put her on TV, but it's like she got beat like a drum because if someone's only going to be in for a week or something, there's no reason to like put them over.
Right. But if they're in for good bookers, and again, like you said, we've talked about this many times because people always say, well, if they're only going to come for a year, you're only having for 6 months, like why would you even bother? It's like, no, that's the best. Like that is if you're a good booker. And great bookers in all that go through all the history, all the years and years and years of territory history and others, that is the best thing you could possibly do is say, okay, cool. We got you until March of 2023. All right, cool. Here's our plan, or here's what we're going to go with, or here's, what I have in mind or whatever. It's the best thing to do. You can get the entire arc. You can tell the entire story of that wrestler. No matter what story you want to tell, you can tell that entire story arc and not be pressured into thinking, well, how are we going to extend it, or what are we going to do? When it's over, it's over. And on March, in March of 2023, he's got to go back. All right, cool. In February, we're going to wrap the story up. March, we'll kind of do a few more things and we're good. But you can tell that exact story. You can write it all down. You can all get it. And barring catastrophe and injury or him not getting over or whatever, you can pretty much tell the exact story that you want to because you know when the beginning is and you know when the end is. And good bookers thrived in that environment. But now we get people all the time. They're like, oh, well, there's no point if they're only there for a year because they're used to your Dolph Zigglers who hang around for 16 years or whatever. That wasn't the case. Territory guys were there. Hey, I'm here for a year. I'm here for 6 months. I'm here for a couple months, whatever, in and out. And but great stories were told in that era because it was very easy to say, okay, here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's the end. Okay, thank you. We'll see you again, a couple years maybe.
Well, look, the obvious one that everyone always points to is the Great Muta. He was there for 9 months. They pushed him to the fucking moon, and he got over like crazy. And then he put everybody over before he left.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Because they said, okay, we did our story with you. You got your push. You got your big matches. All right, you're leaving? Cool. Put a few guys over, and then you're good. And then he left.
Now we're going to beat you like a drum, and those wins are going to come off impressive because you beat every... He feuded with Sting. They did everything they could, and people still talk about that. It was 1989, right. And people still talk about that. And he was only there 9 months. You would have thought he was there for 5 years, So it's someone. You want a fantasy book for a second?
Oh, I'd love nothing. I love more than fantasy booking. Yes, let's go.
God, I hate it. But someone on my Q&A, I did a Q&A over the weekend, $5 tier. I answered 2 hours worth of questions. Lost my voice by the end too. Someone on the Q&A pitched putting Takeshita with Don Callis. And at first I scoffed.
Okay.
But then I was like, that's a good idea. Because you can have him
definitely some Gary Hart vibes there, which I like.
No, but you can do, okay, I want to know what you're thinking. Here's what I'm thinking with that. I'm thinking you can bring him in with Don Callis because of the Kenny Omega connection where Kenny says, no, this is my guy. This is the guy you want to be with, right? Like Kenny's like trying to, because he's trying to influence Takeshita. He was aligned with him last time he was in, right? But Takeshita is still a babyface. And he's like, unsure, and he knows these guys are no good. And then eventually he's like, no, this is all wrong. I don't like you guys. And then he could feud with Kenny Omega, right?
Okay.
After he leaves, leaves the tutelage of, Don Callis or whatever. But it sounds like you had a different idea.
Well, no, I'm just thinking if you wanted to actually if you wanted to make Takeshita just be a heel, you know what I mean? Just have him be like a hated heel. There's no better guy than Don Callis to just fire him up, do all the talking for him, get people excited about it. This is another international superstar. I find, he can be the agent of international superstars. I have Kenny Omega, one of the biggest stars out of Canada. Now I have Takeshita, one of the biggest stars in Japan or whatever, and they're under my tutelage, and I take you to the top. That sort of just classic, sleazy manager/agent thing. That works perfectly too if you decide. Your theory is, your fantasy booking is Takeshita becoming a babyface, which works. But if they say, hey, let's just have you be a heel, you got that as well. I mean, that just have him be the master heater. And then eventually, if you want to, you could just break that up too and just have it be where eventually Takeshita goes, wait a minute, no, this fucking sucks. And then still confused with Kenny Omega after a while. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of ways you can go with that. That's a good, whoever came up with that idea, that's a smart one. I like that.
Well, because isn't the point of an excursion to learn and do things you don't do? So
of course.
wouldn't working as an American style babyface be something that he isn't familiar with and might be good for his, development as a wrestler? Because it feels like he's been pushed in DDT for a decade, but he's probably, how old is he? He's probably still like 25.
Oh, I think
he
is, man.
He's 26.
26. Wow. Yeah. I feel like I've been watching that guy for 10 years because I have, because they've been pushing him for a while. But yeah, wow. I would have thought like 27, 28. I can't believe he's still 26. Damn.
Because the last time he was in, if I recall, they were kind of doing what I laid out. Like Omega was, like he kind of was just shrugging his shoulders and going along with Kenny. Because like the idea was he knew Kenny, but that he knew, like he was still a babyface. It's kind of that weird thing where
right, he's got this loose connection to Kenny, so they kind of felt obligated to team with him, but he also kind of was like, I don't know if I really like this guy,
Yeah. So, and then they on the house show, they put over the Seidels and Death Triangle. It was a 10-man tag with the Young Bucks, Nakazawa, Takashita, and Omega. So, I don't know, but I think he's moving here. He's going to live here for a year.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to see him. He's a great talent. So, I have a lot of faith in AEW. Hopefully using him properly, but I guess we'll see how that goes. But I am at least pretty hopeful for that. I mean, I think he's such a good talent, kind of a cream rise to the top type of guy. So I think that will work out. So there you go. That is AEW. We've touched on AEW. So we talked a little bit about the paywall.
Should we do the Moxley thing?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's get to that then, because the other ones are mostly New Japan related. So let's get to the Moxley thing. Yes.
Is that the last AEW thing we got? I think
on my list, yes.
Contract.
Yeah.
So his contract's coming due, and look, I know everyone's saying, well, no one thought Cody would leave, but I mean, Moxley might surprise me even more than Cody if he ended up back. The way he talks about that company in the book.
Yeah, read his book. Read his book.
I mean, and Cody, the thing that people forget about Cody, and we talked about this, it's not as if Cody and even the rest of the elite didn't nearly end up with WWE to begin with. Like, they when the McMahons and Triple H came out on that December Raw saying we're going to give you fans what you want, it's because they thought they signed the elite. Or thought they were going to sign the elite. They thought it was so close that they were going to deliver that. So it's not as if Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were just diametrically opposed of ever going, and Cody in specific was just completely opposed to ever going back. I mean, he almost did. So I think that's the key difference between Cody and Moxley. The way that Mox has talked, both in all of his media interviews over the last 3 years, I can't believe his contract's up already. That's just so, it feels like it was 10 minutes ago that he showed up, walking through the crowd at, what was that, Double or Nothing?
Double
or
or
something.
Nothing, yeah, the original Double or Nothing.
And the way he talks in this book, look, it's pro wrestling, and you can never, ever, ever be completely, shocked or stunned. But this one would stun me, and it would surprise me way more than Cody. And it would even surprise me more than Punk. I could see Punk going back before Moxley. Do you think that's a hot take?
No. Yeah, no, I don't think that's that hot. I think there's you can read in the way that people talk about certain things. And Moxley, the way that he talks about that company, it just seems like that was the antithesis of everything that he loves about life and wrestling and all that. But again, like, you can't rule it out, of course, but it just definitely feels like that. Whereas it feels like some of these other guys are wrestlers through and through, and no matter what, like, if the deal is right and if the situation's right, they could buy themselves into it. And make no question, like, these guys have all talked about, here's the biggest part, and I'll say this: listen to the Moxley interviews, read the Moxley book. I don't think that's a guy that really respects Vince McMahon very much, right? Would you agree?
Yeah. I agree.
CM Punk has always said that he respects Vince McMahon. Even when even the Colt Cabana interview, he didn't say too many bad words about Vince McMahon. His bad words were about Triple H. His bad words were about some of the other people in the company that he just didn't see eye to eye with. But more the grind and more that sort of stuff or whatever. And Cody as well. Like, I don't know that Cody ever explicitly said, whereas Moxley, you hear how Moxley talk. I think Moxley doesn't really respect Vince McMahon's vision of pro wrestling at all. And that he is the Cody has said, Cody has 100%, 1,000, saying that Vince McMahon coming to his house and them having a conversation about his daughter is what eventually got him to come back. He's said that. Now, that's obviously, we know that that's not all,
He loaded with some bull.
Yeah. Of course, a giant, a Brinks truck full of cash, of course, probably played a factor in that as well. But
Brinks truck full of cash and the fact that your negotiations with your first choice ended.
Right. So those two factors played a part, but also the lure of Vince McMahon. And everybody has said that. Vince McMahon can take you to court. You can go to court with this guy. He can end your life, do all this sort of stuff. But if he comes in and he goes, "Hey, how you going, pal?" He's got this like thing that just attracts people, that makes people. But you read Moxley, Moxley's like, I'm trying to do a meeting with him and he didn't want to do it. Fuck that guy, whatever, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think he cares about that stuff nearly as much. Who knows? At the end of the day, he might still do it. He would be smart to at least negotiate and sit down with them if he could. But I think that, I would be pretty surprised because that allure, that draw of Vince McMahon doesn't feel, at least from what I've seen with Moxley, doesn't feel like something that does too much for him. Whereas all those other guys, there's always that, hey, I didn't like it there, but I respect the lot of Vince McMahon and he's, the genius and all this sort of stuff. You don't get that from Moxley. He doesn't really say that ever.
The other piece is it won't be driven, I don't think, by money. Because he says the last offer they gave him, he didn't even open the envelope. Yeah,
so the envelope's still sitting there, right?
He never looked at the envelope, and he never opened it and looked at the offer. Now, again, you can never be.
They're wrestlers,
shocked.
Professional liars. They're professional liars. Keep that in mind.
But he strikes me but Moxley in particular strikes me as a guy who's just a little more grounded in. I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a guy who, Cody's a classic worker.
He's Dusty's son.
He's a classic worker. And, and look, I said I'd be more surprised by Moxley going back than Punk. That doesn't mean I think that Punk would go back. I don't think he would. But he did fly pretty close to the sun with the Fox thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying it would surprise me a little more if Moxley did. But, look, we don't know. We don't know if people are happy or not. Did any of us know how unhappy he was before he left WWE? I don't think anyone knew the extent of how unhappy he was. And then he leaves and tells his story, and it's like, holy shit, this man hated his life. So who knows what he's thinking now? We don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he doesn't like wrestling 3 matches a month or whatever it is. Maybe
right.
I don't know. You would think that, he's happier, and they took care of him when he had to take care of his rehab and all that. And, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's look, if someone's contract is coming up and they haven't re-signed, it should get some level of attention. Didn't we all just learn that? Right? But with that said, I do think it's getting a little too much attention because I really can't see this one. So I figured we would just address it.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. Yeah, there's the other one. We're gonna have some more contract stuff that we'll talk about, mostly with New Japan. Those ones are more official words, things that we officially know. This was kind of wild speculation on all parts. But it's an interesting question to bring up, and it's something that, there's now 2 competing. And again, there's a lot of people listening to the show. There's a lot of wrestling fans that we deal with on a daily basis that were never alive for this. And like, I was alive, but not, I wasn't as in tune with this, but I kind of was. I'm me. Like, what do you think I was at 12? I'm me. I pretty much do the exact same thing I did when I was 12. I just happen to be married now than when I, wasn't a hit with the ladies when I was 12, but like I still like talk about wrestling, argue about wrestling with people, consume wrestling news, play video games. Like, it's all the same shit. It's just the exact same stuff that I do. And even then I knew at the time, like, anytime a contract was coming due and anytime people were jumping left and right between WCW and WWE, and this was even going into the 2000s in 1999 or whatever, because it was still advantageous. ECW was still in play. People leaving ECW, coming and going, yada, all that sort of stuff. Like, that all, that is all a factor. But there are people that had never lived that. So it's this a huge referendum every single time time contract season comes up, it's like, oh my God, like, and they're making this Cody thing out to be like, oh, here you go. Like, this is the floodgates opening or whatever. And like, it's going to happen a bunch of times. Cody is not going to be the last guy that's going to leave AEW and go to WWE. There's probably several more people in WWE that are going to go into AEW at some point. This stuff just happens, and you have to just kind of be okay with it. But yeah, it's like this fucking you get this like death march every time this happens of, oh my God, oh, what does this mean? What is this? Like, at the end of the day, a lot of times it just means like these people have the options and they took one of the options that they wanted over the other option. It's like, whatever. It's not that.
Listen, there was always going to be a wave of disgruntled WWE wrestlers who were going to end up in AEW, and we saw that wave. There's going to be a wave of AEW wrestlers who end up in WWE because it's still their dream to wrestle in WWE and wrestle at WrestleMania and all of those things. That's going to happen. And it's probably a lot of people that you're not even thinking about. It's probably a lot of people who go on AEW TV and cut smarmy anti-WWE promos because that's what gets over with the fans. You're going to have a wave of that. And, yeah, Cody was, it's just, I think what it was Cody was not only the first to go in the opposite direction, but was such a huge name to be the first. He's the one that kind of broke the seal because none of these contracts were up because the company was so new that none of these contracts were coming up yet. And now we're having some contracts come due. And then we're going to, from this point forward, it's going to be a constant cycle of contracts coming due. And yeah, there's definitely people in that locker room who are going to jump and for a lot of these people, it's just going to come down to money.
Well, that's what I said. Like, there might be some people that don't even want to jump that might not be unhappy, but they come to the table and they, a contract gets slid to them and they go, holy shit. Okay, well, fuck. I guess my decision's made. Like, is this going to be the best? Who cares? Like, look at that money. I got to do that for my family, for myself, for my career, my yada, yada. I got to do it. So yeah, it might just come down to, the zeros on the check and say, all right, well, fuck it. That's enough.
And the 20-year-olds and the generation coming after the 20-year-olds, they may not be so in love with the idea of eventually working a WrestleMania and wrestling for WWE. But all of those, everyone in that locker room that's 25 or older grew up with one game in town. And they probably still hit the pillow at night thinking about WrestleMania. And I think fans need to be prepared for that. It's like, I don't want to throw specific names out just because I don't want people to put me on Reddit saying that, but who knows if, and I'm just picking a random wrestler. I don't know anything about this man.
Yeah, warning.
But who knows if Powerhouse Hobbs doesn't sit around dreaming about, wrestling at WrestleMania one day and doesn't see this as a stepping stone. Again and again, I know nothing. I've never spoken to Powerhouse Hobbs. Warning. But, there's definitely people in that locker room who probably fit that description.
Of course.
And they see AEW as just another step in their eventual move. And there's, others that probably love it there. And, so we'll see more after Cody, no doubt about it. But I would be very, 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 very shocked if Moxley went back after the things he had to say.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
he has no contract, so
right. And just at the end of the day, like, just don't forget that it's a business, and it's not everybody joining every company isn't a, oh, I fucking hate that company. Like, and this might be people that have never done this in a job too. I've left jobs that I liked because it's like, well, I mean, shit, I like this job, but they're giving me this, and like, I have to take this. I like this job. I don't want to leave this job, but I can't let this deal, stay on the I like for my own career and or whatever. I got to take this. Like, that happens. That's okay. It doesn't mean that when you leave that job, you fucking hated it and you hated the bosses and you hated everybody you worked with and, oh, it's terrible or whatever. There are jobs that I've left that are definitely that case or whatever, but like, not every single time you leave a job or go to another place, it's not always a referendum on your this big picture thoughts about what you think of the company or whatever, but people can't handle that. It's people immediately go there because it's just, I don't know. It's just, they haven't lived it. They haven't lived through this.
I think the one big advantage WWE has is that they're WWE and they have WrestleMania, and everyone grew up watching it and getting into wrestling because of WWE and the allure of WrestleMania. You know, we're just coming up to generations now who might not feel that way because they grew up AEW fans, right? There's a 15-year-old kid now who's an AEW fan who doesn't like WWE, and he's going to get into wrestling in 3 years, and that AEW is going to be his dream, right? So that's the advantage they have. The advantage Tony Khan has is, all things being equal, if he signs you to a 3-year contract, you're getting paid for 3 years. You might sit home the last 6 months like Joey Janela and Marco Stunt if he's got nothing for you. But he's making a 3-year commitment, and he's going to pay you for 3 years. WWE, everyone's on a 90-day rolling contract. You know, they can cut you at any time, and they've shown that they could do that, and that they're ruthless, and that their bottom line is the investor. And I think Tony Khan was very wise to have this policy where he doesn't release wrestlers, because that can be a huge advantage at the table, where if all things are equal, he can say to the talent, hey, look, they're offering you the same money we are. I understand that, but with me, you're getting paid all 3 years or all 4 years or all 2 years. With them, you never know. And if you go there and get cut, I might not have a spot for you. I'm not threatening you, but things might change.
Yeah.
So I think that's the huge advantage Tony Khan has. And I think obviously the legacy and the allure of WrestleMania and all of those things is the huge advantage that Vince McMahon has.
So there you go. That is AEW contract. That's Jon Moxley stuff. Again, more contract info coming up here, more contract speculation coming up here in a bit when we talk about New Japan. But you've mentioned a little bit about the paywall. I've mentioned a little bit about FlagshipPatreon.com. This is the time where we'll give a little bit of insight of what's going on there, what's been, what we've been posting. Obviously, last weekend, Joe, the WrestleMania weekend coverage, which was awesome. There was every single day. What was it, all 4 days? 5 days? What was it, 4 or 5? How many days of WrestleMania weekend coverage did you have?
Oh, the audio?
Yeah.
Thursday through Sunday, 4 straight nights.
Jeez.
I reviewed 18 shows, went over all the news each day. So it was about 90 minutes of audio. So there's a little over 6 hours of WrestleMania weekend audio behind the paywall. Yeah. $5.
Good stuff, obviously, covering an ungodly amount of shows. What was it? 18 was the final count, I think, on the shows that you watched. So that is all up there as well. So if you're still trying to catch up on WrestleMania weekend, if you're still trying to say, hey, you know what, there's maybe some shows that I wanted to check out, there's some matches I want to check out, that is a great resource to do that. You mentioned a Q&A that you just did a couple days ago as well. Those happen pretty frequently. Joe does them. I do them. Sometimes they're written Q&As, sometimes they're audio Q&As. It's one of my favorite things to do. I always love doing them, so hopefully doing those a little bit more regularly. But we do them, I don't know, once or twice a month at least. You or I will just ask for questions, and then we'll spend a couple hours answering them. So you got that. You got Match of the Week, which this week was a pretty awesome one here. Is the forefather of Dragon Gate and Toryumon here. A November 1997 match in Arena, Mexico that you picked for the Match of the Week this week. But that was really good. And yeah, if you don't know what Match of the Week is, Joe does a quick little write-up about the match, the significance of the match, why it's being chosen, what different parts of it, and then basically gives you a link and people discuss it. People talk about it. People watch it. It's a great resource if you're just trying to learn about new wrestling that you've never seen before. Discussions about wrestling, a little bit about wrestling history. Every single one of them is a history lesson. They're not, they're not super, super long, detailed pieces, but they give you enough detail to let you know, hey, this is kind of what we're setting the stage of what this match is, why this match is significant, the reason for picking this match, and then it's kind of up to you to watch it and discuss from there. But yeah, there's some really, really good discussions that happen every single week around Match of the Week. So I think that's one of the great additions we've had over the last couple months on FlagshipPatreon.com. So the match itself, it's not a mystery of what the match is. It's in the title right there, but the fun is your write-up as well as the discussion that happened for each of the matches. So that stuff's great. I just posted this morning, actually, a big article about Alaskan pro wrestling, because, Joe, I couldn't go to Alaska and not go to a wrestling show. We talked about it when I said I was leaving. I said, nah, I can't really go. The tickets are too expensive. My flight leaves a couple hours later. You know me. I had everything packed up. I had the car all packed up. I'm looking at it and going, I can get to that show. I'll pay full price. Whatever. I'm only going to be there for an hour or two. Who cares? When else am I going to see fucking pro wrestling in Alaska? It's here. I'm almost 4,000 miles away from my house, and there's wrestling happening 5 minutes from me, and I'm not going to go. No, I went. Of course I did. So I talked a little bit about that. My experience watching wrestling in Alaska, which was really, really cool. Completely different from what I got in Chicago. And then it kind of led me to think, man, I wonder how many, the history of wrestling in Alaska is. And it's not very much. There's not a lot of history of wrestling in Alaska. WWE very rarely went there. AWA, went there a couple times, kind of failed. They never came back. WWE runs it very infrequently. Pretty much nobody was running it frequently until WrestlePro started running it. The New Jersey-based WrestlePro, we've talked about them several times over the history of the Flagship. But then I was able to touch base with the WrestlePro Alaska promoter, Kevin Matthews, as well, and kind of ask him some questions about, what it's like to book in Alaska, what it's like to run shows in Alaska, how he had the crazy idea to even do this in Alaska, like all this sort of stuff. And it was a really good interview as well. I had a lot of really good discussions with him about this, a lot of detail from him about, the risk of running shows in Alaska, running a promotion in Alaska when pretty much nobody else has done it. And that show that I went to was their 3rd anniversary. They've run multiple shows. I think 15 to this point. They've run for 3 years. It's a huge task every single time. They had to book all these people, fly them to Alaska, get them there, run the show. But I was there. It was a very nice venue. It was a convention center. They had a lot of people there. The merch tables were full, and they don't seem that they're stopping anytime soon. So it's kind of cool to see wrestling in a market that really has never had any consistent wrestling now, thriving with WrestlePro Alaska doing that. So, and one of the cool parts about this as well, and I saw it when I was at the show, they had a trainee battle royal, a development school battle royal, and a bunch of the undercard was filled with these guys from this 907 Wrestling Academy. And Kevin talks about that in the interview, is that when he started running WrestlePro a couple years ago, there was legitimately 7 people that he considered wrestling talent, like guys that he could actually book. There was more people, but he said, like, he looked at him and was like, no, dude, I'm not putting you on my show. Like, you are not worthy of being on a wrestling show. Like, so in his mind, there was 7, he wrote, quote, talents that he could book. So even those were probably not great. But he says, as of this time right now, that 907 Academy has reopened because they know that, hey, we can actually run the shows and we can run shows. WrestlePro is going to come here and give us some decent paydays as well. And as of now, 3 years after that, where he had 7 quote unquote talents, he now has 30 trained wrestlers, Alaskan-born wrestlers that are training at that academy. And I saw a few of them, and they're a little green, they're a little rough, but there was a few guys that I was like, yeah, these guys are solid. These guys are okay. So
there.
Yeah, there's definitely a scene kind of picking up and growing a little bit too. But I talk a little bit about my live event experience there, which was really cool because it was families. Like, it was an old school territory crowd there. There was one group that was sitting next to me was a baby in a stroller, mom, dad, grandma, and great grandma all there cheering like crazy. It was
I was
awesome.
waiting for you to say grandma. That's like the old Southern territory.
Yeah. Well, then great grandma. I saw this one, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, whole generation. And then all of a sudden, great grandma shows up. I'm like, wait, who the hell is that? Like, and she was going nuts. She was waving at all the wrestlers, getting pictures. It was great. It was awesome. So, and this crowd was really cool to be in as well, because it was like every heel face thing, like, perfect. You know what I mean? Like, Killer Cross, gets quote unquote hurt, and Don Moff like attacks him, and this crowd's ready to jump over the rails and stab Dan Maff. You know what I mean? They're like, and he's playing it up like, oh, come get me. And I'm like, oh my god, it's classic pro wrestling or whatever. Casey Navarro did some flips, and you would have thought this was Rey Mysterio in 1996. With he did like a tope and then a suicide dive, and the crowd's just like, oh my god, they're just losing their mind. They just never saw that before. You know what I mean? Like, they'd never seen high level wrestling in front of them like this. So it was really cool to watch that and be in that environment. But a really detailed piece about Alaskan wrestling history, the history of WWE, AWA running there, other places running there, and then a little bit about WrestlePro Alaska. So that is all up there that is on the $10 tier, all the written content on the $10 tier. But Thursday tier reviews, as you mentioned, is also up there as well at Flagship Patreon. All these live shows, you can hear all the tech issues live as they happen, so that's a great benefit as well. And the final Yes movement will be up in the next few days as well. So Daniel Bryan has finally won the WWE Championships. We'll talk about the Miracle on Bourbon Street, him finally getting to that point, and then wrap up that series and maybe begin my next series as well. I have another one kind of in the works that I'm working on as well. So we got that. Plenty of other stuff there at flagshippatreon.com, voiceofwrestling.com/Patreon, or patreon.com/voices of wrestling. Anything else, Joe, you want to do a plug for the Patreon?
I think you covered everything.
I think I got everything for the last few weeks.
I think you got it all.
All right, let's get to you want to talk New Japan here? New Japan Pro Wrestling. So let's talk contract news.
Yeah.
We were talking contract news with Moxley and AEW. Some big stuff coming up from New Japan as well. The first one here is Chris Dickinson. He tweeted this out, quote, "I am beyond proud to announce I have officially signed an agreement with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've heard you all for years say I should sign with other companies, and I appreciate every one of your hopes for my success, but this is what I've always wanted. With the company's expansion in the USA on the rise and Japan finally reopening, the future is brighter than ever. I am still available to work independently in the US and internationally excluding Japan, but New Japan is now my home. Let's continue to bring the highest level of pro wrestling to the world together. Pro wrestling is alive." Chris Dickinson. So signs with New Japan, but as he said, he is still available to work independently in the US, and he can work other places internationally except for Japan, obviously, because New Japan. So yeah, I don't know. What do you make of that, of Dickinson saying he's signing there?
Well, it's like I've been saying during the entire pandemic, this was going to happen. They're probably going to sign some other people that they've been using on the New Japan Strong shows. And I really think, when the borders do open up and there's, it seems that that's coming around the corner and, full crowds open back up, which also could be happening soon, that New Japan is going to have a loaded roster. The Strong shows were not only, a great showcase for American fans, but it was a great place essentially to hold tryouts for people that they could use back in Japan. And Dickinson is the first one. And I don't think will be the last in terms of talent that they were using on Strong that is eventually going to end up in Japan. I mean, he's going to fit in like a glove. He's going to do great there. He's a guy that, he likes the style. He's a tape nerd. He's a student of history. This is, you could see how excited he is in that statement to be there. So he's going to do great. And, we'll see who else they pick up along the way. I don't think he'll be the last. They have a chance to really fortify their roster with a lot of these people they've been using on Strong. So I saw this coming a while ago. I figured this would be the case. And here we go.
Yeah, and like you said, the borders opening up is going to be really, really cool to see now. It's going to give New Japan a full, roster of people that they can use. And yeah, this is, I think, the first of what probably will be a few more, guys signing, guys that are going to be able to come back and forth, the guys that they've been, like you said, testing out on New Japan Strong, guys that get over on New Japan Strong, guys that they feel, okay, this guy can work our style, this guy can do it. Those guys are going to start coming over. And once that happens, yeah, and you've been saying this for 2 years now, to your credit, is that the second these borders open up and the second New Japan can start booking these guys, this roster overnight is going to be a lot better. Like the G1 overnight is going to be a lot better. And some of these kind of fringe guys, these guys on the lower of the totem pole, like those guys are going to get replaced pretty soon, or at least get, bumped out of these tournaments by your Chris Dickinsons, by your Tom Lawlers, by your, whoever, your Freddie has, whoever, mention whatever names you want. Like I'm not positive of any other ones that have officially signed or whatever, but like the water's going to rise. There's going to be a lot more better talent in Japan now because they're going to be able to use people from all over the place and be confident that those people, without having those people have to sit, in a hotel room for 2 weeks or whatever, be able to come back and forth and, work tours and work stuff like that. So that's going to open up things just tremendously for New Japan. So yeah, this is the first of what hopefully is a few more, and obviously a great signing. Chris Dickinson, perfect guy for New Japan Strong and for New Japan in Japan proper as well. So yeah, really good stuff there.
Oh, Francesco Akira just debuted, so they got him in.
Right, yeah.
You're going to see the full United Empire at some point. You're going to see Aussie Open and TJP come in and work with United Empire when things open up. So, it's not going to stop with Dickinson. So they've been kind of gearing up for this and preparing for this. New Japan is no secret. They were hurt probably more than any other promotion other than the ones that closed, and maybe CMLL. When it came to the pandemic. But I mean, when you really step back and take a look, I mean, that roster is going to be loaded. It really is. Mm-hmm. You're going to be back to your classic G1s that are stacked and your Super Juniors that are stacked. And then from there, it's just getting crowds in there that are allowed to cheer and are allowed to fill the building. Now, the question is, when they're allowed to sell full tickets and all that, and we're back to normal, we're going to truly see how much they've cooled off. Okay. There's this idea that New Japan has cooled off significantly. Certainly interest in the United States, I think, has cooled to some degree. There's no question about it. Could they put 6,000 people in the Cow Palace? Not a chance. They can't do that right now. Could they sell out MSG? No, not a chance. But, can they fill a 2,000 seat, 1,500 seat venue? They could do that still. But in Japan, there's this idea that they've cooled off, and they may have. We're going to find out when they finally open up these buildings. Okay. Because, when they could put 5,000 people in Sumo Hall and then, they're putting 4,800, what does that tell us? Does that tell us if they're able to put 10,000 people in Sumo Hall, they'd still only get 4,800? That's a problem. That means that they have cooled off significantly. But we don't know that until things open up, and we'll find out quickly. But when you combine as loaded as that roster is going to be with a little bit of crowd noise, I think that's going to reinvigorate a lot of the disenfranchised Western fans back into New Japan. The atmosphere killed it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the limited roster. I mean, it's the small crew that they were running with for a lot of these tours killed it for a lot of people as well. So, I do think, the roster issues will be fixed, and we're going to find out whether or not it has truly cooled off, or if the Japanese fans are hungry to get back in those buildings with the full crew and with the ability to cheer.
So some other stuff about New Japan is one guy is coming in, Chris Dickinson. It appears that another one is coming out. Juice Robinson was on Wrestling Observer Live this week and said that he has no more bookings after this weekend's Windy City Riot show in Chicago. We'll talk about that one in a moment. He was asked by Brian Alvarez and Mike Sempervive if he had a checklist of guys he wanted to wrestle. And his quote was, quote, "No, I don't really have anybody that I want to wrestle. There's nothing that really, I just don't have the urge to wrestle really anymore." Not great. So that's that. So
yeah, he'll wrestle again.
Yeah, he's working.
He's just going through it.
Yeah.
He's just, I think that, he might disappear for a while, but I mean, he's going to get bored. He's just going through it. I mean, it's look at what has happened to his career during the pandemic. He's one of these guys that isn't going back and forth to Japan anymore, and he's working these smaller New Japan shows in the States, and I could see why he'd be down. And he will wrestle again. I don't know. And look, I've been saying for a long time that the best thing for that he has hit his ceiling in New Japan. Him and Finlay. I think they both need to go. And I think that's best for both New Japan and both of those guys. I mean, they were never going to push Juice Robinson higher than he had he had hit his ceiling. And same thing with Finlay. So, I think he's not going to retire. I don't know where he's going to end up. Back in WWE. I don't know if AEW likes Juice Robinson, maybe Impact, whatever the case may be. A change of scenery is going to be good for him and good for his career, because he wasn't going to go any higher on the card in New Japan. So, and I do believe the same for Finlay. And, Finlay, I don't know. For a long time, I felt like he was a guy that was just eventually destined to end up in WWE. They've kind of changed their recruiting to some degree.
I think he was biding his time, but unfortunately, right when his time was up is when NXT decided that, or WWE decided that NXT wasn't what it was before. I don't know, looking at Finlay, knowing what Finlay is, I just don't see any reason why right now. I mean, yes, he's tailor-made for the 2019, 2020, NXT that's going to grab just literally anybody with a pulse, anybody with a name or whatever. I just don't see any reason why he would go in there now. He just doesn't have the look that they're looking for. He doesn't have the work that they're looking for. I don't see it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure his father could get him in if it really came down to it. But yeah, as far as Juice goes, he's not done. I don't buy that for a second. I think he's just either, depressed at the moment about his career, or, maybe he's working, I don't, that's not a very smart work though, to say, I'm not excited about wrestling anymore and there's nobody I want to wrestle.
Right. Come call my number. Yeah, please call me.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a promoter. Why am I calling you? So he'll snap out of it. He wants to hang out with Tony Storm for a while. Nobody can blame him. There's nothing wrong with that. So we'll see. But I think this is, if I were New Japan, I'd let him go. I mean, it's just,
I'm with you. Yeah, I don't think you've done all you've. Yeah, it's fine. And again, this is okay. Like, people shouldn't be with companies for 10 years. Like, that, it's okay. Some guys should. Obviously, your top tier guys should create legacies with guys, but your bottom guys, the best thing for them a lot of times is to go and come back or leave and try something else or leave and go to another place. Like, that is how you progress and move up. Sometimes you progress and move up because eventually you just figure it out, or you hit on the right story, or you hit on the right gimmick or whatever. But sometimes if you're a guy like a Juice Robinson, like, he got to the point where, like you said, there was a couple years there, 2016, 2017, you're like, all right, here we go. This is the Juice push. This is when Juice is going to get it. And then it just never quite happened. And when you get there and it doesn't happen, it's very hard to get back to that point ever again. And he hasn't. He has definitely not gotten to that point ever again. And that's when it's probably the best move for everybody to just say, hey, you know what? Let's move on. And maybe down the line we can talk again. No hard feelings. Shake on it. He goes one way, they go one way. You know, door's not closed to happen again, but like, yeah, it's probably better for his career to move elsewhere and try something different, do something a little bit different. Because he's just, like you said, he's not going to progress anymore in New Japan. They don't seem very interested in progressing him anymore. So what's the point anymore? You know, why are you guys in this relationship right now anyway? There's no point. So
guys, he's been there like 8 years.
Yeah, it's been forever.
You know, go do something different. You know, it's you know, he's been passed by a lot of, you know, gaijins and you know, let alone people, you know, like Great Okan is in line for a gigantic push, you know, and it's like, that's going to be another guy ahead of him in the pecking order. And then, you know, just forget it. I mean, it's sometimes it's just time to leave the territory. So he is a guy, though, who has openly said that he doesn't like working indies. He doesn't trust the rings. Yeah. He doesn't like the, you know, it's like, so, and I know has been working more indies, you know, the last few years than he used to, but, you know, look, I suspect he'll pop up somewhere eventually.
Yeah, I don't think he's done. He might be trying to tell himself that he's done, and that might be what this is all about, is kind of tell himself, I'm good. But the wrestlers are wrestlers. You know what I mean? They're never retired. You know, there's always that urge that you know, that need to be in front of people, that want to be in front of people. It's always kind of there. So yeah, I don't think he's done after this, but maybe done for now for Juice. But let us get to New Japan. Since we're talking about Windy City Riot, I'll start with that show, and then we'll kind of go over some of the other stuff going on in Japan. But this looks like a hell of a show. I'm going to be there Saturday. A lot of other people from Voices of Wrestling, a lot of people I know that listen to the show are going to be there. People that needed hotel advice. Hey, how do I get here? How do I do this? I've heard from a lot of people, so it should be a really, really fun show. I think it is sold out. As far as I know, it is sold out. I don't know exactly what the amount of tickets sold were. This is the Odeum, which, by the way, RIP to the Odeum. This is the final run for the host of Anarchy Rules 1999 and Anarchy Rules 2000 and Global Wars 2016. And I'm trying to think of any other significant wrestling shows. It is being turned into like a truck depot or something next year. I don't know what's going on with it, but the Odeum is not going to be a venue anymore for events. So RIP to the Odeum in Villa Park. But I don't know what the setup is. I don't know if it's the Global Wars 2016 setup. So if you want to use that as like an attendance, you know, I don't know. And I don't know if WrestleTix has covered this one at all, because I don't know if it's important enough for them. But it seems like it's, as far as I can tell, Buzzometer seems pretty high for it. A lot of people I know going to the show. I know tickets sold pretty quickly, but it looks like a hell of a show. Your main event, Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay. I mean, Jesus Christ, I can't not go to that. Tomohiro Ishii versus Minoru Suzuki.
That was set up at the Ishii Suzuki match was set up at WrestleMania weekend at the Lone Star Shootout show. Yeah. But I think that this show had sold out before they even announced that.
Yes, I think on the backs of Moxley and Ospreay, and on the backs of a few other announcements, I think it sold out. I think Moxley and Ospreay for sure was the one that made everybody kind of go, oh, okay. I think I'm buying tickets to this now. So US of J Open Challenge Series, Jay White versus ? Always dangerous.
It's how it always is with these US of A channels. So we'll see who it is.
6-man tag, Chicago Street Fight. Juice Robinson ending his career in a Chicago Street Fight. There you go. It's Finn Juice and Brody King versus Jonah, Shane Haste, and Bad Dude Tito. What a team. Jonah, Shane Haste, and Bad Dude Tito.
Yeah, couldn't get Mad Mikey Nichols in there, I guess. So
That's all right.
You know. See, that's another thing. Look at you know, TMDK. You get them back in Japan. You know, obviously Haste is back in the mix. Jonah, who to me should have been in New Japan to begin with, they passed on him when they had the chance. He ended up in WWE. You know, if you can get Haste and Nichols back together, you know, then you got the TMDK tag team. There's just they have a wealth of talent at their. They could really pick and choose.
Then you also have Yuji Nagata versus Tom Lawler. Sounds awesome. Bullet Club, Chris Bay, Doc Gallows, El Phantasmo, Hikuleo, and Carl Anderson. And Scott Norton.
Yes.
I've never seen Scott Norton live. This is a chance to finally see one half of Vicious and Delicious in the flesh, one half of Fire and Ice. Finally, I get to see Scott Norton live. I cannot wait.
Is he going to get added to the Bullet Club Wikipedia page? Or?
Oh, he should. Yeah, so the way that they list it as Bullet Club, parentheses, Chris Bay, Doc Gallows, Phantasmo, Hikuleo, Carl Anderson, close parentheses, and Scott Norton. So I wonder if he's presented a t-shirt and what way does he decide to go? Well, he's against the United Empire. I don't think he's going their way as well. And yeah, this United Empire team rocks. Hanare, Okan, Cobb, Fletcher, Davis, and TJP. So that's wow. That's awesome.
And they obviously added Akira Francesco to the unit on the which the show we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, Sucker Battle. Yeah.
United Empire is full at this point. And the thing is, once TJP can get to Japan, he'll have a tag. They'll have a junior tag team too, because they could team TJP with the good Italian boy. So and Chris Bay is another guy who they can get into Japan now. Okay, and he's got a ton of upside. And the Good Brothers contract is coming up in Impact, and they have openly said that they want to end back in New Japan. So,
well, they don't.
But again,
I wish they
wouldn't. I get it.
I wish they wouldn't, but they will.
But what I'm saying is, but my overall point here is the roster can be just, like I said, they have tons of choices.
It's going to fill up again pretty quickly.
Yes,
in a good way.
And then these tours aren't going to look as sterile and dry as they've looked because they're using the same 18 guys on every tour. So
So I missed the debut of Francesca. How did they maneuver him leaving All Japan? Did I miss? Because a lot of times, like we see this, like you have to pretend you're going to America. You have to pretend you're leaving for this reason or another. He just fucking jumped, right?
No, he won the junior title, and then he won the junior. He won the tournament, then he won the title, then he lost the title, and it was kind of obvious he was never coming back because he got like a goodbye. Like he didn't get a Dragon Gate goodbye, but it was obvious that, and then he went back home to Europe. He worked some, indies. He worked Rev Pro, the match against Gabe Kidd. And then that was kind of the tip off right there. Like, all right, he's working Rev Pro.
Right.
The connection is now, so then when they started running the vignettes for the fucking fire
all Italian language. Yeah, it was kind of obvious to anybody who knew anything that's probably Akira Francesco. So
and then he showed up. So I'm not. Listen, I need to see him work in New Japan before I'm convinced he'll be a fit. I mean, I like him, and I've been a proponent of his for a while. But All Japan's a nice little promotion with some nice little juniors, but I think size might be an issue.
Oh, yeah, he's
for
5'9", like what, 160 maybe?
Small guy, and
he's pretty skinny. He's pretty skinny. And not that explosive. Like, if you're kind of small and skinny, like, if you're explosive, that works. He's not quite that either. I mean, I like him, too. I think he's good. I'm with you. I don't know that he's going to be good in New Japan. We'll see.
I like him in All Japan.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if we'll see. I mean, he can work. I mean, I don't consider him a super worker. I don't think he's like phenomenal.
Yeah. Also 22 years old too. So that's
yes. Yeah. Of course. Tons of upside. But I mean, I think that he was more of a fun underdog in All Japan more than, wow, this guy's a breakout superstar.
Right.
If people are expecting that, I don't know. But it also shows kind of Ospreay's influence where, he's getting people in now, where if he can get Ozzy Open in and now this kid in. So, that kind of tells you where Ospreay sits in the, in terms of, being a New Japan veteran now.
Alex Coughlin, Chris Dickinson, Fred Rosser, Josh Alexander, and Ren Narita versus Team Filthy, Black Tiger, Danny Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, J.R. Kratos, and Royce Isaacs.
I like the Black Tiger thing. I think that's cool.
Yeah. It's always good.
It's what's his name? The other Rottweiler, Ricky Reyes.
Yeah.
It's Ricky Reyes. So, it's fine. This is a 10-man tag, but WrestleMania weekend, the Lone Star Shootout. As soon as after watching like all these Game Changer shows and everything, and it's like, and these indie shows, and then the New Japan show came on, and it was just like it was Rocky versus Ren Narita, I think, and then it was like one of these kind of 10-man tags with just a bunch of guys. So it was nothing special. But immediately the difference in quality of work was just
the mat, the
stunning.
sound of the mat, the look of them bouncing off the ropes, the chops, the punches. It's
just incredible difference in the quality of work between like the New Japan show and like I don't know JCW versus LA fights.
BLP
you know what I mean? Like,
Norn.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then Clark Connors, Carl Fredericks, and Yuya Uemura versus The Factory. Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and QT Marshall. The Factory in Windy City Riot. Interesting.
They've been doing a Twitter angle. So, the Factory's like invading New Japan.
Yeah, they want to get Fredericks. They're trying to recruit Fredericks, so.
Yeah, so there's at least a backstory to it. But what this also tells you is the AEW New Japan connection, right? That's the more important thing here.
Yes.
Than Aaron Solo working a prelim match. Like the important thing to here is the relationship is obviously strengthening.
Yes. We'll talk about that in a moment here as well.
About 30 seconds.
Yes, and then dark tag match, which I'm going to try to get to because I really want to see this. Kevin Knight and the DKC versus Rocky Romero and Wheeler Yuta. Who, by the way, is a fucking star after like 3 weeks because wrestling is fucking easy and everybody makes it way harder than it needs to be. This guy's a goddamn star after just a couple weeks of attempting to make him a star. It's so easy. Why are you all so bad at this?
The other thing here is this was booked before he joined another stable.
Right, so it's a little awkward, but hey, that's all right. So.
And he's been tweeting about that, too.
Yeah, he tweeted, Okada said that he's behind on AEW. That's good. Because, he's going to come out and be like, yeah, Chaos, baby, let's go.
Yeah. So.
Rocky's going to be like, wait a minute. He's like, shh, I got I'll do it here. I'll do this match. Like, don't tell anybody. But, yeah, it's pretty awesome. Which is
cool that the canons of the companies are the same, which is cool, too.
Yes, which is also cool. So, okay. We alluded to it a little bit, AEW, New Japan. That relationship is improving. Joe, I think that's probably a good way to say it, right?
So I got confirmation. We talked about it before we went on the air, but I was texting back and forth with Damon from the Super J-Cast while we were doing the show, and their new episode is ready to go. We're going to upload that as soon as we're done with this, and they have a major New Japan
scoop,
AEW scoop. So you're going to want to listen to the J-Cast. We already know what it is, but it's their scoop. So listen to their show that will be uploaded by the time 99% of you hear the words coming out of my mouth. That show's going to be on the feed. So you're going to want
it will be that. The problem, too, is it's going to be everywhere. Remember where you heard it first. Super J-Cast. Joel
Super J-Cast got the scoop. Damon confirmed that the scoop is on the show because we weren't sure if they were going to do it on the show, but Damon confirmed it. So we can go ahead and plug it and listen, you're going to want to hear this.
Yes. Yes, you are.
You're going to want to hear this. Okay. I wouldn't oversell it. So you guys know,
it's a thing. So, it's a whoa. It'll take you back a little bit. Scoop.
It's a major scoop.
Especially for me. I'll say that. I am in particular excited about this scoop. So
I suspect it's what Tony Khan's big announcement is going to be because he's setting up another big announcement. Right. And isn't a New Japan executive's coming to this Windy City?
Yes, I forget exactly who it is, but yeah, a major New Japan executive will be at Windy City Riot as well. So I don't know if they're going to half announce it there. If I have no idea, but yeah, it is a major thing. All the pieces are being put into place, but you're going to get the scoop before anybody else on this week's Super J-Cast. So,
well, he might be coming into town to be at Dynamite Wednesday.
That's possible too.
Okay, Let's move on. So
there you go.
That's Windy City Riot. And what do we got? So we got to talk about the Hyper Battle. So did you see any of this?
I have not seen a second of it. I am too busy, unfortunately, catching up on WrestleMania weekend. I will just about be done with everything that I want to watch Mania weekend. So, yeah, I have not watched this. But, yeah, lead me through this and tell me if there's anything I need to go out of my way to check out from Hyper Battle.
Well, the main event was really good. I wouldn't call it a match of the year contender or anything like that. The thing about Okada is what I've noticed about him over the last, 6 months or so. He's much more efficient in his work. You're not seeing these elaborate and exaggerated closing stretches. He's just hitting people with the Rainmaker and fucking pinning them, like when he's through with them. And that was the case here with this match, Zach was great in it as he almost always is. And Okada was excellent here, but there's sort of the only word I can come up with is an efficiency. There's an efficiency to Okada's work lately. And I don't know if it's, okay, after 2 years of this shit, I have figured out that we shouldn't be doing 45-minute matches in front of clap crowds. I don't know if it's, I'm in my 30s now and my body's starting to feel it. Maybe I don't need to put it through the absolute hell that I put it through in its 20s. You have to remember that Okada, for a solid decade, has been a main eventer in New Japan, working main events, working the longest matches, working a hard style, and really putting his body through a lot. So it could just be an adjustment in his match structures and layouts. Or it could be, and this is option number 3, and I want your opinion on this. He went through the whole story he was telling during the Money Clip era of where he was slumping and trying to figure out different ways to beat people. And, and people thought he was like legitimately washed up when he was, telling that story in that G1 a couple years ago.
People still think that, even though he's proven that's not.
Well, hasn't he? Didn't Wrestle Kingdom 2 years ago end that?
Yeah,
and
no. You're still, these people convincing themselves he wasn't washed. Well, I don't know. For 2 years, he's been having good matches again.
He's been great again ever since.
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
So anyway, what I'm thinking this could also be is, so he tells this story of, maybe he's not the same anymore. And he's, the Rainmaker's not effective and I've got to use the Money Clip and all this. And he's slumping. But now he's the world heavyweight champion again, right? And he's got his swagger back. And maybe this efficiency that we're seeing in his work and definitively putting people away is kind of a story device where it's like, I'm back. I'm at full strength. I went through my little slump.
I got these dumb titles together. These titles are back. I'm there. He's even
I'm the top guy.
Even in that build, he said that he wants to bring New Japan back to glory and out of the pandemic.
Yes.
That's what he said.
So could that be what this is, or a combination of all 3? All I know is there's a difference in his work. It's more definitive. It's more efficient. Yeah. He's not fucking around, especially with lower ranked opponents.
We were taking it back even the Naito one, where he just fucking hit the Rainmaker and pinned him, and it was like, oh, all right. We thought that was some referendum on Naito, but it appears that that's not. It's actually more.
No, it's a pattern now.
Right.
You could go all the way back to the Buddy Matthews match, right? He didn't give him a ton, and we thought, it's Buddy Matthews. But this has been a pattern now. Everyone he wrestles, it's kind of like, and he's still having great matches. It's not like he's out there dogging it, but there's an efficiency to his work that I think is interesting. He has changed his style again. So, and that was also the case here. And this is a really good match. I'd probably go, I don't have my notebook up here, but I think I went 4 1/4. Definitely worth watching. Didn't overstay its welcome. Desperado. And of course, obviously, as I reported behind the paywall, I don't know how many times I have to be right, and there's still people that say I just make things up. Dave Meltzer's been hearing that for 40 years, so why would that?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be tomorrow. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
But as I reported weeks ago behind the paywall, so all of our subscribers knew. But it's going to be Okada Naito at Dontaku in the Fukuoka Dome. So they feel like that is their biggest match and their best hope to sell the most tickets in the Dome. And they're probably not wrong. But what it also means is, like we talked about a few weeks ago, they're running this match into the ground now. But with the limited crew,
they don't care about it anymore in the same way that they care about it in the sense that they know it can sell tickets and that but they don't care about protecting it anymore, which they were for 4 years protecting that match. And that was the holy grail match that, okay, we'll do it when the time is officially right. But now they're just, we've seen it now 3 times in 6 months, 7 months,
less than that. They wrestled at New Japan Cup. They wrestled in February and they wrestled a couple weeks ago. So it's like, they're going to do it, and they booked this dome, and they feel like that's the best match to fill the dome. So, so that was the plan. That's why Naito beat Okada in the New Japan Cup. This was all behind the paywall weeks ago, but it all played out exactly like that.
You make it all up, and there's nothing.
Yeah, I just guess.
You're pretty good. You're a good prognosticator. I'll tell you that.
So yeah, that's going to be the next match. Naito didn't even come out to challenge. Like, Okada just cut a promo and that was it. Like, they didn't even send Naito out there to do the face-to-face deal. Despy beat Show. That surprised me to some degree. I thought they'd do the title switch. They did not. Despy got injured in this match on that wild bump he took off the apron into the guardrail. He injured his hip, and they had to change the entire structure of the rest of the match because of that hip injury. And then, he ended up retaining the title. I was also told that Despy and Sho talked Togo out of a lot of shit that was like, this was already mired into
great
stuff.
Why does this have to happen all the time?
But they talked him out of a lot more. Like they talked Togo out of a lot of spots that they were able to successfully get worked out of the match, but there was still a ton. And then he hurt his hip, and he still did some wild shit after that because he's a fucking lunatic. But the hip injury is something to keep an eye on. I don't think it's anything that's going to keep him out, but it was notable. Okan and Cobb won the tag team titles. I figured everyone expected that. I mean, the Goto Yoshihashi thing kind of ran its course once they were done feuding with House of Torture. So they put the titles on Okan and Cobb. As I also talked about behind the paywall, Okan is in line for a monster push. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they pull the trigger. And they almost did it in New Japan Cup, but they went with Zack Sabre Jr. It was down to Zack Sabre Jr. or Okan once Ibushi got hurt. And they went with Sabre because Gato feels Okan needs a little more. He wants to rack up some more wins. And this is a good example of that. Little tag team title run, more singles wins over some guys. But that Okan main event push is coming. It's coming. He's going to be a player in the world title scene. And I know a lot of people don't like Okan. He's probably going to be the world champion. So he's going to win this title at some point. Like, I'm not saying in 6 months, but they see him as a top guy.
Yeah, this isn't a fluke. Yeah, if you don't like him, I don't know. Get used to it. He's not going away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it is, and we've been telling you this for years.
Yes,
like
since he came in or came back from Excursion, we said they think he's a top guy. If you don't like him, you're probably not going to like a lot of New Japan over the next couple of years.
And I think when the fans come back, he's going to be way more over than people are anticipating. The thing saving the little girl. He came to the ring with like the police declaration of like his heroic, so they're making a story out of that. Did you see all that or were you gone?
Yeah, no, so I did follow that story, which is an awesome story. There's a suspected sexual assault, and he stopped, and then he gave pancakes or something, or offered his pancakes. It's a hilarious story. Now that he was able to stop it and all that sort of stuff, and the kind of the funny details of him being, pretty awkward about it after he stopped it. But yeah, an awesome story to get out there and just, stop this. And yeah, it wasn't like, no, he's being heralded as like this hero, and it's awesome. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, and he plugged New Japan in his
right, that's what I mean. There's just like some interesting stuff in there about like, hey, do you want some pancakes? And by the way, watch New Japan Pro Wrestling.
You can watch me on New Japan Pro Wrestling in a town near you. Like, he plugged New Japan to in the story. But no, he's in line for a big push, and this is part of that. Evil beat Hiromu. Look, Hiromu's probably going to beat Evil for the Never title, but I if you follow Gato's booking, it probably wasn't going to happen here. He beat Evil in New Japan Cup, and then they ran angles where Evil got his heat back. It just didn't feel like this was the time for Hiromu to beat him, but he's probably going to beat him at some point. Taichi and Toru Yano had a sumo match. I don't need to say any more about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it. Don't worry. So
the Wato and Taguchi retained the junior tag titles over Phantasmo and Ishimori. Look, it doesn't really matter who holds those titles. You can trade these titles back and forth to any of these junior teams.
Yeah,
but Ishimori was the challenger for Despy. So that's probably why, they just kept the titles on Wato and Taguchi here, because Ishimori is getting a junior title shot at the Dome show. So that was probably the thinking there. And then, Shingo and Naito beat Hanare and Ospreay, with Hanare obviously eating the fall there. So that's just a bunch of main eventers involved because they didn't have anything to do with the top of the card. So they worked the prelim. And then Tama Tonga Tangaloa and Hiroshi Tanahashi, along with Jado, beat the Bullet Club. So I think Guerrillas of Destiny and Tanahashi are getting a never 6-man title shot. So that's the world we're living in now, where Tanahashi is teaming with Guerrillas of Destiny. He has embraced
Man.
Girls Destiny they're wearing the New Japan T-shirts now.
I was gonna say, has he gone dark, or have they gone to the light? They've gone to the light.
So after Bullet Club turned on him, Tanahashi has embraced them.
See, I want Tanahashi growing a beard. I want him getting a little, like, he's got these new friends. They smoke cigarettes. You know, they get in a little bit of trouble. I don't want them clean. I want him getting a little. He's got some stubble on the face. You know what I mean? Maybe like a temporary tattoo that they could put on him. Like, I think that'd be a fun story to do. But that's all right.
And Jado scored the Fallen Gato. So
big. Oh wow, big win.
big clap pop for that. So, the Bullet Club stuff. I have to tell you, I really don't mind the Bullet Club war thing. I think it makes them far more interesting than they were before. It'll probably wear out its welcome eventually. You know what I mean? But it's like, if you're going to wrap up the House of Torture with that and keep them away from the rest of the card, I don't really have a problem with any of this. And I think it'll be interesting to see the twists and turns and where everybody ends up being aligned and everything like that. That's way more interesting than the same old Bullet Club that we've had since 2013, just mucking it up on all these shows.
Oh,
so
of course.
I'm not
certainly. Absolutely.
I'm not as down on that story as everybody else is. I'm not excited about it, but I mean, and especially the idea that it can carry over to New Japan Strong, to Impact, to AEW with the Elite. Jay White just cut a promo and he talked about how, he worked the Young Bucks into the promo and how he doesn't have any problems with the Elite. And so it's going to carry over to multiple promotions. I think it's kind of interesting, honestly. I mean, it's something different and I don't really mind it. So we'll see with these upcoming shows what happens. So anyway, that sets up Dontaku in the Fukuoka Dome. I know we're running out of time, but it's Okada, Naito, like we talked about. Tanahashi versus Will Ospreay for the U.S. title. I forgot. Sonata came into the ring and vacated the title because of the orbital bone injury.
Okay.
So Ospreay came out and said, "Oh, well, since I hurt you, that's mine." He's like, but then Tanahashi came out, and so
did dorks get really mad about it and clutch their pearls and go, "Oh my God, this Will Ospreay, I hate him so much."
Rich, I don't fucking know because I don't
Who cares? Yeah, great.
So I just watch wrestling. I don't know.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So all I know is it was funny. He comes out and thinks the title's his because he injured the guy on a botch. Despy versus Ishimori. Evil against Tama Tonga for the Never title because Tama Tonga got attacked from behind by Evil. I forgot to go through that too after one of the matches. Okan and Cobb defend against Goto and Yoshihashi, and also Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. So we get a dopey three-way. Junior tag titles. This time it's Doki and Kanemaru's turn to get a title shot. I don't know where Doki and Kanemaru are in the rankings, Rich, but they're getting a title shot at Wato and Taguchi. Is that Doki's first title shot that isn't like a never trio?
Ooh, that is a great question. Let me get to you. I look at a Dookie cage match search here. You can find some fun stuff here. Let us see if this is Dookie.
While you're looking that up, I will excite you with a Yujiro versus Tangaloa singles match.
God. God.
So. Damn it. That's the Bullet Club. Maybe we should
pump those brakes, Joe. Pump those brakes, Joe. All right, so he not including Riot title tournaments and IWRG and the very illustrious LYC Cruiserweight title. This in New Japan, 6-man tag team titles and King of Pro Wrestling is all he's ever. So he has had a shot at the 6-man tag team titles twice and the King of Pro Wrestling title once when he did the Rambo with handcuffs or whatever. So.
I thought I remembered some trios title shots, and the King of Pro Wrestling makes sense. But so this is his first,
also the AAB trios titles. He also had a chance at.
I don't know what that means.
And the Puebla Indie tag team titles. He also had a chance.
But this is not New Japan, sir. I'm not concerned.
Is it not? Okay, sorry.
Okay. And then the opener is Taichi Takamichinoku and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hiromu, Shingo, and Tatsumi Fujinami. So continuing to get bookings. He's in tremendous shape for a fucking 70-year-old man. I will say that. And Taka, I guess, look, they gave him a little tryout on that one tour. It was kind of a trial run. And it looks like he passed. Remember, he took all those beatings.
Oh, my God, yes, he did. Yeah.
They beat the living shit out of him to basically, it's like beating him into a gang, except they were beating him back into New Japan. So Taka popping back up too. So that is everything New Japan, right?
I believe that's it. Yeah, I believe that is all we have for New Japan. So we'll have coverage of Windy City Riot next week as well. So I'll be there live, give a live report of everything going on. That will be on the flagship next week. Maybe I'll do an instant reaction. We'll see. I won't do an instant reaction live, but maybe the next morning. It's Easter morning. I got nothing else going on, so maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I can't promise it yet. Find out. FlagshipPatreon.com. You might get something, or you might have to wait a week. I will find out how things go. But when you say right, I'll be there live. Dontaku coming up pretty quickly. Yeah, all that other good stuff going on. So that is it for New Japan. We are just about done. Few more things we wanted to touch on real quick. Shinjiro Otani, while we stick in Japan here. Better news today than earlier in the week, but for those that do not know, Shinjiro Otani, a legend in Japanese wrestling, he had a cervical spinal cord injury in the main event of 01's April 10th show. He underwent what they're calling successful surgery, and per 01, the surgeon said everything went as planned, and he's been moved to a different hospital to begin the next step of his treatment. But the problem is we don't know what that is, what entails successful surgery. Last we saw Shinjiro Otani, he couldn't move his body. He was able to kind of lift his head up. He was conscious. He was awake. He was, stable, but he couldn't move any of his limbs. And that is very, very scary, especially for a man his age, and especially given what happened, thrown into the corner, hitting his neck, and then now no longer being able to move any of his body parts. That's not good. Obviously that really hurts, but the successful surgery and the next step of treatment, it seems like people are more positive, but we don't know what that quite means just yet. We know that he's stable. We know that he's going to survive, you know what I mean? But beyond that, we don't know anything more right now about that. As of this recording, April, the 14th or whatever, right now we don't know anything more about Otani. But yeah, very, very scary injury, and we're obviously hoping that he makes a full recovery and maybe never wrestles again. That'd probably be okay if he never did.
I highly doubt he'll wrestle again.
Yeah, no, he probably should not.
Even if he, we just hope he can walk again.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I want him to walk again, and I really don't care if he wrestles again. So that's awful injury. So we'll see. We'll keep you updated about that. And then in Dragon Gate last week, April 7th, they said goodbye to K-ness. I do want to say before anything, I cannot recommend listening to Open the Voice Gate enough. K-Slow, Mike Spears, and Jay, Dragon Gate's English commentator. They brought him on a couple weeks ago to talk about the life and career of K-ness. Tremendous show. Go out of your way to listen to that show if you haven't yet. One of the best shows that they've ever done. One of the best things we've ever had on this network. I mean, just the level of detail of those three people talking about anybody in Dragon Gate, but also the level of detail of talking about this guy in particular. Nuts. Nobody else can do that show but those three people. And they were on this network, Voice Wrestling Podcast Network. Definitely a show that you're proud to be able to present to people, and just all the credit in the world to Case and Mike for getting Jay to come on. And then Jay, obviously being Jay, he knows fucking everything about Dragon Gate. Those three men know more about Dragon Gate than any other human beings on Earth, right? I don't
English speakers for sure.
Yeah, maybe even more, maybe even Japanese. There might be people in Dragon Gate that don't know enough about him. Jay surprises anytime they bring on a Japanese wrestler to do commentary. Jay just goes on and on and on and on about this stuff, and you can tell that they don't even know half the shit that he knows. They're all right, whatever, dude. Like Genki Horiguchi's just all right, I don't know, man. I don't fucking care. I do my shit. I do some other stuff. I don't know everything. You know what I mean? I don't know every storyline from every year. But yeah, those three people, very few people on this earth know more about Dragon Gate than those three people, and they were all together talking about K-ness, and obviously he made his retirement on April 7th. I have not watched the show yet. I'm going to go watch it. An unfortunate part about this is Jay was doing English commentary. There was a technical difficulty, so it is not available in English. He has said he's not going to re-record it. He just doesn't feel right going back and re-recording, this particular show. So it is only available in Japanese, which, for some people might hurt, but it's still, I've heard, is a really, really fun show to check out. So you have seen it though, right? Can you give some recommendations or thumbs up or anything about it?
Yeah, I saw the main event. And I put over that podcast real strong last week. It's like, if you want to learn about the career of K-ness, Jay is just, plus it's his favorite wrestler on top of everything else.
There's nobody that knows more about K-ness than him.
I learned so much, but the match was Dragon Kid, obviously, because of the Darkness Dragon Kid feud, which is legendary in that Toryumon Dragon Gate world. So it was Dragon Kid and KZ versus K-ness and Susumu Yokozuka. That's really what the match had to be. And KZ put him away with a series of, where the moves, guys. K-ness does that running elbow.
Especially Dragon Gate moves. I don't know. So that's, I don't know.
I don't know the name of it, but it's like that running European uppercut elbow thingy that K-ness does. So KZ hit him with 2 or 3 of those, and he kept kicking out, but then he finally put him away with it. Very similar to the, Shawn Michaels super kick on Ric Flair. Like, K-ness knew he was cooked, and KZ finally hit him with another one and pinned him. And it was very emotional. And what K-ness is doing, if you listen to that podcast, he's giving a lot of his signature moves to a lot of the younger wrestlers. Like, he's gifting the maneuvers that he used over the course of his career to a lot of the young wrestlers he's fond of in the company. And so this was kind of a fitting way to go out, with Dragon Kid on the other side and KZ putting him away with one of his signature moves. It was a good match. It was legitimately a good match. It wasn't just carried by emotion. I mean, it was good. And, I think K-ness and Super Shisha are 2 guys who, a lot of maybe casual wrestling fans, Naruki Doi and Shima and Shingo Takagi and Akira Tozawa, and you might even know Kagetora and Susumu Yokozuka and Dragon Kid and Masaki Mochizuki and Genki Horiguchi. But K-ness and Super Shisha are 2 guys who are just so important to the history of Dragon Gate and the Toryumon system and everything, and who just, because they, after a certain period of time, neither one of those guys has been pushed in decades. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't been pushed in years due to injury and just, their roles in the company and for various reasons. But, the further back you go into the history of the Dragon Gate system, the more important you'll see that those 2 guys are. And this was it for K-ness. So, he went out with a great match, and he went out the right way, doing business the right way, eating the pin to a kid that he wanted to play. I call him a kid. How old's KZ?
I was going to say, I think KZ.
He's probably like 35, right?
He's like 34 years old.
But
KZ, this little kid, this spry little 35-year-old. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
You know what? As somebody that's also 35, I like the idea of being a kid when you're 35. So keep calling me.
Here's the thing with KZ. It's almost like he's had 2 careers. He had the DJ KZ thing where he was this goofball undercard, grimy
MC KZ or whatever.
MC KZ. Where he was this grimy,
not to be mixed up with DJ Z. That's where you mixed it up. DJ Z.
That's where I mixed it. Yeah. So MC KZ, and he like wore the full fucking jumpsuit, and he was missing teeth, and he's just this scuzzy fucking undercard heel. And then, they gave him the push as a babyface, and now he's like one of the top babyface. It's like 2 different guys almost. So you almost forget that he's been around for like 15 years at this point, But, he obviously isn't part of the generation of, Yokozuka and Dragon Kid and those guys, but he came after, right afterwards. But, I mean, if you're a big-time Dragon Gate fan, it's a must-see match, and if you're just a wrestling fan who likes to see goodbyes and farewells and an emotional kind of deal, it's really a shame that Jay's commentary got wiped out, because again, this is his favorite wrestler.
I know. Yeah, and that's again, like if it was any other show, and he's done this before, like shows have gotten wiped out and he just goes, all right, fuck it, let's do it again. But yeah, this was one that it was, I'm sure, knowing somebody who's been in that position of having a show not work and having to, okay, let's re-record that, or let's re-record the segment. It sucks. It's always the worst.
Can't recreate it.
It's always the worst. And trying to recreate sending off your favorite wrestler ever, like the emotion of that, like you cannot recreate that. So I while I'm disappointed that I can't hear, Jay talk about, I also completely understand it as somebody who does audio, that there is no way to get back in that booth and get anywhere near the same amount of emotion that you had before. It will come across as if you're trying too hard, if you try too hard, or you just straight up won't be able to give that emotion, and then that's also not fair either. So I totally understand just saying, fuck it, it's gone, sorry, you're never gonna get it. So
yeah.
So now the exclusive, if you want Jay talking about K-ness, open the voice gate. It's the only place you can do that. So
yes, good point. Before we end the show, I want your opinion on, everyone rips me because they're like, why do you like Danhausen? It doesn't make sense. Like, you're no fun.
No, you are wrong. Yeah, you are wrong about that.
Danhausen is the Stalker Ichikawa of AEW.
See, Stalker is funny and Danhausen isn't. So
I think Danhausen is entertaining in AEW.
I cannot believe this. Is this a bit?
It's not a bit.
He is created in a lab to be a wrestler that you hate, and you like this guy?
Not the way he's slotted, though. Okay, listen.
Man.
Have I not said that Stalker Ichikawa is the best comedy wrestler of all time? I've said that, right? And that's because he works pre-show matches and openers, and he's treated like a goof, and they never even flirt with pushing the guy in any way, shape, or form. And if Stalker Ichikawa was working main events and doing his shtick like Danhausen was on the indies and just, I would hate him too. But the way that Danhausen's been used in AEW is like exactly how Stalker Ichikawa is used in Dragon Gate. And I'm not offended by his presence. I'm entertained by his presence because he is very entertaining and he's creative and he's funny. But in small doses, when he's being fucking, disrespected by Hook or when he's popping up out of a fucking garbage can.
This is why you've lost your edge. This is why nobody gets in the DMs anymore. What are you talking about?
Listen, he's the Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa.
No, don't you dare besmirch the great name of Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa. With fucking
their roles
Danhausen.
are identical.
No.
Danhausen's funny. He's creative.
Not.
I enjoy his bits.
Ugh.
He's good. I just don't want him doing fucking breaking into the tequila dance in the middle of a main event. That's what I don't want. That's what drove me crazy with Danhausen. And his fans are a bunch of dorks too. His fans can go kick rocks. But
yeah, sounds great. Yeah, sounds great.
Danhausen himself is entertaining.
I will admit that he is a very creative dude, and I give him all the credit in the world for realizing his career was at a standstill and completely transforming himself, and now getting to the highest of highs in the wrestling business with this gimmick. I will give him credit for that. I think he sucks. I don't want to watch him ever, but okay. But I'm in the minority there. Most people like him. You like him. I am fine being in that minority that doesn't get it and doesn't like it. But
look, he's very evil. What can I say? He's very evil.
I can't believe it. You're wearing a Danhausen shirt right now, aren't you?
I am not. I don't wear wrestling shirts. Come on now. But he's very evil. I don't know. It's funny. Last night, they kept the cat for the live crowd, and they put see that YouTube video posted. Yeah, they did.
I can't believe you find this funny. This is unbelievable. I can't believe you. What has happened to you?
That's funny. Where you think they're introducing Ricky Starks for the whole town crowd. And Danhausen comes out. That's funny. It's a good bit. It is.
Oh my God, you've gotten soft. I don't know what.
It's a good bit. I could do without putting the curse on William Regal.
This is what I'm saying. Like, what are you talking about? But
the cameras weren't rolling. It doesn't matter. Like, if you do that on Dynamite, I have a problem with it. But having a little fun, after the show, I don't have a problem with that.
All fun Lanza, yeah, all fun Lanza over there. So
what about at the end? Okay, so the Acclaimed comes out. And obviously, Max Caster takes everybody's finisher. He gets hit with the fucking Death Rider. He gets hit with the fucking Ricky Starks fucking spear, right? So they get him out of there. So then the baby faces are all celebrating, and they're all going up to the turnbuckle to throw their hands up, and Danhausen keeps hopping in front of them and going up on the turnbuckle to throw his hands up. That's fun. It's a good bit.
That's a good bit. That's a good bit.
That's a good bit. Like, Starks couldn't get up there because Danhausen kept jumping
I will
up on
admit
the
that's a
turnbuckle.
good bit. I will admit that's a good bit.
Why is he even out there? That's just funny to begin with. Yeah. It's good stuff. You're going to come around. You're going to come around.
I haven't yet. Why would I come around now if I haven't yet?
I would love to see Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa versus Danhausen.
I would admit that would probably be pretty good.
See? That would be
because
very
Hollywood
good.
Stalker Ichikawa is the funniest wrestler ever and the best comedy wrestler ever. So.
No doubt about it.
And you are besmirching his name by even putting him in the same conversation with Danhausen. But
I don't think so. I gave him his flowers. He's the best of all time. But I would love to see those two in a match. I think it'd be magic. It'd be magical if those two were in a match.
When we want to burn money in WrestleMania weekend one year, we'll book Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa and Danhausen.
Well, we should tell WrestleCon to do it.
Because if we just tell Rob Viper, it might just happen.
Yeah, we told them to do Cavernario versus Caveman Ugg, and they did it. But then the pandemic wiped it out. So get on that. I want Danhausen versus Stalker Ichikawa. I want that. It's going to be hard to get Stalker over here, but
they could do it. Money talks.
Imagine the Dragon Gate office getting that call. Listen, we want Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa. Who else? No one.
Yeah, no, just Ichikawa. Thank you.
No, that's who we want. That's it. We want them to come over and work a 7-minute comedy match and then
go home because no one else is going to book him because nobody else knows who he is.
No one's going to book him. They couldn't get anyone to book Shun Skywalker. They're going to book. Stalker Ichikawa.
Oh, God. All right. Well, that is it for this episode of the Flagship Podcast. As we said, flagshippatreon.com for all of our bonus content, written content, Joe's Thursday TV reviews, all the WrestleMania weekend stuff, a new episode of the Yes Movement, all of our retro content, Jovember to remember, all that stuff is available for you. $5 tier and $10 tier. The $5 tier gets you most of the additional audio. $10 tier gives you everything and gives you live flagships. It gets you the written content. It gives you live instant reactions. Everything else we do is available. It unlocks everything we do, everything that we've ever done on that $10 tier. Flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voices of wrestling, or voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon as well. Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network, again, Super J-Cast. For the live listeners, all of you, very soon you will be able to listen to this. Everybody that has listened to this show the day after, whatever, you should have already listened to the Super J-Cast, and if you haven't, go listen to it right now. The news is probably everywhere, but do not forget where you heard it first. Super J-Cast, where you heard it first. Joel and Damon, Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network, or you can search Super J-Cast on your podcast app of choice, and you will get it there. But that is that. Joe, I got nothing more. So for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. This has been the Flagship Podcast. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
The General Insurance presents Ordering a Sandwich with Shaq and Hall of Fame announcer Michael Buffer.
I'm going to have roast beef. What do you want, Michael?
Let's get ready for pastrami on rye.
Turns out, Michael Buffer talks like that all the time. And it turns out, The General is a quality insurance company that's been saving people money for nearly 60 years.
Spicy Dijon mustard.
For a great low rate and nearly 60 years of quality coverage, make the right call and go with The General.
The General Auto Insurance Services, Inc. Insurance Agency, Nashville, Tennessee. Some restrictions apply.
Underdog Fantasy is the fastest growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.